run these canyons for 6 million years. I have traveled from the Rocky Mountains to the deserts, through scorching heat and freezing cold, from the land of the dinosaurs to fields of food.
I lend my hand to 7 states, 2 countries, 9 national parks,
and 36 million people across an arid West.
I am not the strongest or the largest, but I am the hardest working.
People love me.
My playfulness,
My beauty.
my power,
My life. But I don't think I can offer any more.
I am
I am
tired,
tired,
tapped,
and tied. Of the hundreds of major rivers in the world, I am one of the few who no longer kisses the sea.
Battles to harness my soul have been won and lost. Use me wisely, and I will sustain you.
Use me like you have, and I will break. My name
is
is Red. The Grand River Red. The American Nile.
The Canyon Maker. I am the Colorado River.
And I am the most endangered river in America.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Let's take a little time out here from this morning's show to talk about Free Speech TV. You know what they say? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, there's no such thing as free speech either. Well, in a sense there is. I mean, you don't have to pay for it every time you watch it. You don't have to drop a quarter like in the parking meter to keep it going. But it still costs a lot of money to run a cable television channel nationwide, especially if you want to be independent of all other forces. And, the people who founded free speech, they had some choices. They could either fill up the airtime with paid commercials like they do on all the other networks. They said, no, we don't want to do that. They could turn to the government for help. No, we don't want to do that. That's another kind of dependency. Or we could just go out to the corporate world like the Koch brothers and get all kinds of money for that from Sheldon Adelson and Foster Friess and the Koch brothers. No, we definitely want to do that. Founders of free speech decided they're going to count on our viewers to keep us going and to keep free speech on the air. That's the only way that we can be completely free and independent and fearless every day. Look, we know you appreciate Free Speech TV. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching. We know you love tuning in every day to Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman, and me. I hope on the list as well. Now we need your help to keep it going, to keep this great channel going. And we'll make it a two-way street. You help us, we'll help you. So some incentives to help us during this pledge drive. Be as generous as you can, as you always are. And if you can help us with just $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee. If you help us with $20 a month, $240 a year, send you the mug and a coffee and a French press for $360 or $30 a month. Very, very special. We'll send you the mug, the coffee, the French press, and then you get to participate in what we're calling Voices of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute telephone call, one-on-one call on any issues of the day. We're going to put all the recordings of all those calls together and play that on the air as Voices of the People from all of our good friends out in free speech land. And then if you can do something very special and help free speech, help all of us with $1,000. You make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good time. You come in the next morning and watch the show here in studio with us. The way to join in, of course, is go to our phone number, 877-378-8669, or go to the website at freespeech.org. Again, you've been wonderful, wonderful to us. That's why we're here. So keep us going, and please be as generous as you can, and we thank you.
Sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I'm not necessarily looking out and seeing all these water-wasting lawns and people that aren't as connected to their neighbors and their lives as they could be. I'm walking down the street looking, going, edible oases, rainwater, fed landscape, and just looking at the possibility of these sort of landscapes up and down the streets of neighborhoods and communities all across this world. Small actions do ripple, and they add up, and they have a cumulative impact. And so when you're building upon your small mindful actions, you have the confidence and the ability to take on something a little bit greater. So that could be nice. This, in the context of where we're at as a planet with climate change and these really big issues, and people that are more disconnected and less skilled than ever, it becomes even more amazing and powerful how much of a solution this is to design these ecological gardens and to come together with shared vision and shared voice. There's never been a time where your choices have mattered more. Doing something as simple as us transforming a landscape creates a model that anybody can look at far and wide, and you're sharing food and connecting and building skills together in your own neighborhood. It's a richer way to live in normal times, but in the new normal of climate change and erratic weather and economic upheaval, it becomes essential. Whether it's me, you, Gandhi, Che, MLK, Willy Wonka, whoever, past, present, or future, the power of our daily actions is all that we have. And like our community said, give me a place to stand and a lever long enough and I'll move the world. And that's what those simple actions do. They move the world every day.
The nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
Now we know there may be boots on the ground after all. Hey, what do you say? Hello, everybody. Wednesday, September 17. Moving right along here with the Bill Press Show, and here we go for launching another 3 hours on the news of the day, coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station. Thank you for being there in Radioland. And don't forget, if you don't have a progressive talk station where you live, too bad, you can tune in to one of our affiliates on the app iHeartRadio. Best way to do it, just iHeartRadio and look in Bill Press Show and you'll connect to I don't know, Chicago or Asheville or Denver or who knows where. Also, you can download the TuneIn app. Both of those are free. And on the TuneIn app, Progressive Voices channel, there we are. Also coming to you live, of course, on Free Speech TV nationwide. We're looking at you on Free Speech. Thank you for being there. And worldwide on our video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And all of those voters in Scotland, they're watching here. Now do the right thing, damn it. Okay? The Queen says, think very carefully about the future. President Obama says, vote no. And I say, vote no. I think Scotland should always be part of England. Scotland, Wales, and England, they all kind of go together. We fought a civil war to keep people from breaking off from the United States. So that's my good morning, Scotland. That's my advice. Okay. Here we go. Good to see you this morning. Thanks for being with us here, whether you're watching or listening. Peter Ogburn and Lisa Murphy.
Hey.
We got the team here 2 days in a row. I can't believe it. Yeah, I know. Alicia Cruz here on the phones and Cyprian Bolding wearing, of course, the Nats cap because we wrapped it up last night. We are number one.
That's it.
In the National League East and equally exciting. Oh, there it is. There it is.
So proud.
Equally exciting. The Orioles, number one in the American League East. Yeah. So, I mean, could it be? Could it be?
What do you call that?
You take the Mark train. Yeah. To the World Series, back and forth, man. Yeah.
It's the Mark madness.
What do you call it? You call it the I-95 series,
people
right?
People try to call it the Beltway series.
Oh, the Beltway.
If it happens, the Beltway.
I guess that makes sense.
Well, except Baltimore has its Beltway and we have our Beltway.
Well, that's the point.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
This is the Battle of the Beltways. The Beltway series. New York had the Subway series.
Mm-hmm. Or the Battle of the Bay in San Francisco.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
right. That'd be very, very exciting. The Nats, the Orioles last night, wrapping it up against the Blue Jays. First time in 17.
Yeah.
Now, the Nats, it's what, 2 out of the last 3 years.
2 out of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scrappy, good team. Damn, we're good.
Yeah. Baltimore, though, like you said, it's been a while.
It's been a while, but they're hot.
They flirted with it, but
yeah, they're hot too. Here's how it came down last night.
Barnes, ground ball, first base. Pierce got it. He will run over. He will take me out himself. And I'll be darned. The Orioles have done it. They have done it. It took 17 years. But on this Tuesday night, September 16th, 2014, the Orioles are back in the Eastern Division win column. They are the champions.
I'll be darned.
I'll be gosh darn.
I'll be darned.
That's not exactly going to go down as one of the great calls in sports history. Well, would you look at that?
Yeah, we always talk about how the sportscasters are so over the top. This guy is so under the top.
Look at that.
Yeah, right. Oh, how about it?
I'll be doggone.
Anyhow, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting no matter how it ends up, and I'm feeling really good about it. Cyprian, I need my playoff tickets.
Damn it.
Right.
Tickets on sale Monday.
There you go.
Tickets on sale Monday. All right. Okay, good. Get in line now. It'd be like District Donuts. You got to get in line. Right.
Be a hot ticket.
All right. We've got it. David Jackson. He's our hot ticket this morning. He'll be coming up a little bit later at the White House for USA Today. Folks from Media Matters will be in. And I'm so excited. We are Koch brothers. Forget the Koch brothers. We are going to meet the Koch sisters in studio in our last hour together today. So exciting. But first,
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. We'll pick it up in the world of baseball because Derek Jeter continues his farewell tour at stadiums across the country. So last night they played.
The pitchers are not being very nice to him.
Well, that's right. Last night he played at Tampa Bay, and the Devil Rays gave him a $16,000 donation to his foundation, a Don Zimmer jersey, and a pinstripe kayak.
Oh,
they give gifts to ball players as they retire, but that's not all they gave him.
Did he get hit by a pitch?
No, well, that's he also got hit by a pitch in the 8th inning. They also gave him a fastball to the hand in the 8th inning. Steven Geltz,
oh my goodness,
nailed him when he was up at bat. A little bit later on in the game, Kevin Kiermaier from the Rays threw a pitch a little bit, or from the Yankees threw a pitch a little bit too close, and both benches cleared out. There were no punches thrown, no fists flying, but they did empty out. Tampa Bay went on to win the game 6-1.
Unbelievable.
A mess.
There've been a lot of people hit by pitches lately.
Yeah.
Getting that time of the season, I think. Pitchers are just like, screw it.
Yeah, exactly. CNN may be saying farewell to Crossfire, the Daily Caller. They already said farewell to it for the most part.
Yeah.
It's been on a very long hiatus. But they, one TV insider.
Has it been off again?
It's been off again. The Daily
How
Caller.
would you know?
The Daily Caller reports that they talked to a publisher from CNN who said, quote, "The program is on an extended hiatus." One TV industry insider says, "My sources at CNN said Crossfire is toast." Again, this from the Daily Caller.
I gotta tell you, the new Crossfire was not as good as the old.
I couldn't agree more.
That's all I say. I know.
You know, we said farewell to Joan Rivers. She passed away. And so now we're looking into why exactly she passed away. There is a lawsuit going on from the family. And it turns out that the doctor who was operating on Rivers when she had when she went south,
into cardiac arrest.
So it turns out that the doctor performed an unauthorized throat biopsy during the procedure. And not only that, the doctor took a selfie in the operating room with Joan Rivers on the table.
Unconscious?
Unconscious.
That's crazy.
This is the report from CNN. The family alleges that they have seen the selfie that the doctor took, and they're not happy.
Boy, I'm telling you, I can. Lawsuit,
Big
right?
Yeah,
lawsuit,
malpractice lawsuit on that one. Indeed. All right. Thank you, Peter. Yes, indeed. The question of ground troops is where we start today. Ground troops in Syria or ground troops in Iraq. You know, we have, first of all, let's just say, I mean, we've talked about this so much. I think you know where my position is very clear. I understand the threat of ISIS, and I understand why some limited airstrikes might be necessary, and I support them. And I think most of us do, right, to a limited extent. But we're talking about a lot more than that. I'll support limited airstrikes, but I am not going to support a new war in Iraq, reopening the war in Iraq, the Iraq war, the sequel, or a war in Iraq and Syria. No. The American people don't want it. We don't need it. It's not going. Didn't work the last time. It's not going to work this time. So I hope that's not where we're heading. but it looks like it may be more and more today that that's where we are heading. And I got to tell you, as much as I support the president, they just, I think, bungled this whole approach to ISIS. It took a long time before people knew kind of where the president was going to come down on this, because he was taking his time. But then the execution of 2 Americans, and still nothing had happened. But finally, the president did give his speech last week. But at this point, they still can't decide what to call this outfit, right? Now, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but everybody calls it ISIS, except the White House calls it ISIL. Why can't we just agree on what we're going to call it? Or why can't they just do what everybody else does? Why do they insist that they have to call it something else? And I was listening to Susan Rice, whom I admire immensely, on NewsHour the other night. I was in the car, and she was calling it ISIS. Not ISIS, but no, ISIL.
ISIL, yeah.
ISIL. And I thought, ISIL?
That's a new one.
I mean,
that's a new one.
ISIL and ISIS is already bad enough, but then ISIL? I mean, yeah. So come on, let's just agree on the name. Okay. That's a little pet peeve of mine. But now they can't. Now they can't agree on ground troops, yes or no. Now the commander-in-chief told us very, very clearly last week, and every briefing for the last 2 weeks, Josh Earnest has told us very clearly, no boots on the ground. President Obama last Wednesday night.
It will not involve American combat troops fighting on foreign soil. This counterterrorism campaign will be waged through a steady, relentless effort to take out ISIL wherever they exist using our air power.
Pretty clear. No boots on the ground, no combat forces. And then yesterday, General Martin Dempsey, who is not the commander-in-chief, but he's the next one down. He is head of the military. He's chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He testified in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, and he said that he might recommend, if needed, he might recommend boots on the ground, combat forces. In fact, he said, some of the commanders over there have already requested ground troops. The president so far hasn't said yes. And General Dempsey said, I know what the president has said, but if I think we need him, I'll tell him he's got to change his mind, and I'll try to convince him to change his mind. General Dempsey yesterday.
Folks on the ground are in very much a combat advisory role. They are not participating in direct combat. There is no intention for them to do so. I've mentioned, though, that if I found that circumstance evolving, that I would, of course, change my recommendation.
That's a very key phrase. If I find circumstances changing, I will change my recommendation. In other words, if our troops are in trouble, or if the Iraqi troops are in trouble, or if the Kurdish troops are in trouble, or the Syrian moderate opposition are in trouble and can't do the job ourselves, General Dempsey is saying, I'll go to the president on a case. And he said the president has told him you can come back on a case-by-case basis and request ground troops. And I'll tell you, at that time, I think it would be very hard for the president to say no. If everything depends on sending in some ground troops, this is going to change like that. Don't you think? I'm convinced that we were told yesterday, no ground troops for now, but it won't be long. 866-55-PRESS. Now, that's not all the general said yesterday that should make us think about where we're going, what road we're heading down, okay? We've talked before about how long this operation might take. Because when you say, well, we're going to have the Syrian moderate opposition, they're going to be the forces on the ground, and the Iraqi rearmed and retrained military, they're going to be the forces on the ground. They haven't shown much capacity yet. So the question is, how long is it going to take to bring them up to speed, right? Well, General Dempsey told us yesterday.
3 to 5 months, and then deliver a capability sometime between 8 and 12 months. So that's kind of the time frame that we're working toward.
Whoa. 3 to 5 months to recruit them and line them up and start the training. 8 to 12 months before they have the capability to do what we're counting them on. That's a year from now.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Okay. That is, So that would put us into September 2015 is what he's telling us before the operation even begins. There is no way this is going to be over before President Obama is out of the White House.
Are we ready for that?
That's my question. Are we ready for that? No, I'm not. That means this is going to be another extended war in Iraq. That we are going down that path, it is so clear. When the chairman of the Joint Chiefs says, basically, we don't have any right now, but we're going to need them, and when we do need them, I'll tell the president, and I'll convince the president to change his mind.
It seems to me like there was a point in this that it was airstrikes, we could go in, we could take them out, we got this under control, we could do this, right? And it went from that to when they stand up, we'll stand down. We're going to train those troops. This is going to take a year. It went from airstrikes to that in what? A week and a half?
Yeah. And
2
now,
weeks?
Yeah.
Really?
And now we've gone from no ground troops.
War.
Now we've gone from no ground troops to ground troops overnight.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me this. No, this is looking more and more.
We
like
should
another long war in Iraq.
We should pull the tape because I know it was about 2 weeks ago, maybe a little bit more, that you were saying, you watch mission creep. And this is how it begins. Couple troops here, couple troops here, couple troops here. Few more troops on the ground. Start training the soldiers.
And this whole thing about boots on the ground, as Jim Wallace made this point when he was in here the other morning, those guys training the troops.
Yeah.
The ones the 3,000 or whatever that we've sent over there that are training the troops, they're not wearing slippers. They're not wearing Birkenstocks, right? They're wearing combat boots. Come on. Are you ready for another war in Iraq as we're heading 866-55-PRESS? Clear to me. It's got to be clear to you.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Good to see you today. I want to take a little time out from the news of the day to talk about something very, very, very important. And we've got for you today, well, you've heard all about the Ice Bucket Challenge, right? That the most successful fundraising effort, I think, ever in history to raise money to find a cure for that dreadful disease, ALS. Well, we've got something a little different than the Ice Bucket Challenge and maybe a little more comforting. It's not the Ice Bucket Challenge today. It's the Coffee Challenge, yeah. And we also want the Coffee Challenge, to raise money for Free Speech TV to be the most successful fundraising effort ever for Free Speech TV, especially here on the Bill Press program. Now, this is so much easier. You don't have to get all a bucket of ice water over your head. You don't even, of course, you don't have to have hot coffee poured over your head. Here's how it works. You help us at Free Speech TV, and we will send you tons of coffee to enjoy, depending on how much you can help, of course. Now, I don't have to tell you why we need your help. Free Speech TV, the only truly independent cable television network out there at all, and the only truly progressive television network out there. And the only way we can stay independent is no government money, no corporate money, no foundation money. It is all just your donations that keep us going. And look what you get for your dollar. You get this great lineup of progressive hosts every day, me and Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman, and others all day long, bringing you the news of the day with our commentary, our insights, and, of course, your calls and your comments as well. So for the Coffee Challenge, if you can help us with just $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a pound of coffee and a Bill Press mug. If you can help us with $240 or just $20 a month, we'll send you that mug and a pound of coffee and a French press. How about it? To put it all together. For $30 a month, $360, the mug, the coffee, the French press, of course, and something very, very special, you'll be part of what we're calling Voice of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute telephone conversation. We'll record all those telephone conversations of people at the $360 level. We'll put them together and play them on the air. Your chance to become a national celebrity with me here on the Bill Press Show. That's for $38 a month or $360. And of course, if you have the means and are willing to send $1,000 to Free Speech TV, God bless you. You make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you into the studio the next morning to watch the show. Help us as much as you can. Join the Coffee Challenge at 1-877-378-8669 or go to our website, freespeech.org. All of us here at Free Speech need your help, and thank you for your help.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
This is the Bill Press Show.
26 minutes after the hour, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs yesterday, most of the headlines this morning are leaves the door open for ground troops or opens the door for ground troops. I think it was more than just a crack, too. I think the door is, from the testimony I saw and heard, wide. The door is wide open for ground troops, and the fact that commanders on the ground have already requested them, and now you have the chairman of the Joint Chiefs saying, if I think they're needed, I'll tell the president, you got to change your mind, dude. We're wrong. That's going to be very, very hard, no matter what the president says today. I know President Obama does not want to go there, but he may be forced to, and we are in there for the long term on maybe a hopeless mission. John, calling from Ferndale, Washington. Hey, John, how are you?
Good morning, Bill. You know I love you, but I think we need to take a step back and let this president do his job. ISIL is incredibly well funded. They have money from oil fields rolling in, and these $1 million in kidnapping and everything else. The thing is, he is going to do the job. And he sees the information coming across his desk. At some point, we elected him, Bill. We have to trust him.
I elected him to. I voted for him to get us out of a war in Iraq, not to start another one, John.
It's a dangerous world, and he doesn't go around saying, "Gee, I wonder where I can mess things up." He's reacting, and the thing is, he didn't create this dangerous world. He's just dealing with it.
I hear you, John, and I really respect that, and I love you back, man. I love you back. But it's just look. The first war, 10 years in Iraq, didn't work. Let's not kid ourselves. Another war, no matter who starts it, is not going to work either.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Hey, friends and neighbors, take a little time out now for just a word about Free Speech TV, how important it is, and how much we depend on your help. I hate to tell you this, but I've been around this radio and television business for a long time now, starting out with KABC TV in Los Angeles and KABC Talk Radio, moving on the radio front over to KFI Radio, and on TV over to KCOP Radio. And then bouncing back here to Washington, D.C., 6 years on CNN at Crossfire, and then a couple of years at MSNBC with Pat Buchanan on Buchanan and Press, and then Current TV, of course, covering and carrying our nationally syndicated radio show on a simulcast. But I got to tell you, with all of those different great organizations I've worked for, I have never felt that so totally free and so totally independent in terms of broadcasting the news of the day as I do here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV, that's what it is. I mean, it's a progressive voice channel, 24/7, totally independent. As you know, no government funding and no corporate funding and no big donor pressure at all. Totally independent. And how do we do it? Well, that's thanks to you and to your support. We couldn't do without it. And that's why we turn to you once or twice a year to ask you to first of all, to thank you for being so generous, and then to ask you to help out again as much as you can. And there's some premiums that we can offer this time around, maybe to make it more attractive for you to dig in and help us out. If you can help us with just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll send you a Bill Press mug and a pound of coffee. For $240, that mug, that coffee, and a French press. That's just $20 a month. For $30 a month, $360 a year, a mug, a coffee, the French press, and you'll participate in what we're calling Voices of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute phone conversation about whatever issue you want to talk about or issues you want to talk about, and we'll put all those together and we'll air them on our show as Voices of the People. You can be part of that. And if somehow you can make your way to Washington, D.C. and send $1,000 to Free Speech TV, make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you into the studio the next morning to watch the show. However, whatever level you can help out, please give us a call at 877-378-8669 or go to the website freespeech.org. Help as much as you can, and thank you for being so generous and allowing us to do a great job with you every day.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek. So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
On the response to ISIS, the president telling us last week that ISIS is a serious threat. He is putting together an international coalition hopefully including a lot of support from Arab nations that we've been propping up for a long time and getting them actually to stand up and give us some strong support. And once that coalition is in place, the president indicating that he has the authority and will probably use the authority to use airstrikes against ISIS positions, not just in Iraq, but in Syria. However, the president is saying again, over and over and over again, there will be no combat troops. He has said, the last thing I want, the last thing the American people want is another war in Iraq. And yet, yesterday, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, just joining us, Martin Dempsey, said some of the commanders over there have already requested ground combat troops, and General Dempsey said, if I think that they are required, I will go to the president and say, we need them. And sort of implying that if he tells the president that, the president will change his mind. So the question is, are we ready for what that means is war? This is, by the way, this is even airstrikes. This is a war. Yeah. But are we ready for an air and ground war in Iraq, having just ended the last one 3 years ago? Peter.
We're on Twitter, @BP Show. @BP Show. Your chance to chime in, join the conversation there. If you can't, give us a call. Robbie Bright says, give the president some credit. Libya, no war. Syria, no war. When does he earn a little trust? He's not George W. Bush. We've got to give him some room to work.
I love the fact that we had that limited operation in Libya. I love the fact that we did not didn't go to war against Assad when John McCain and Lindsey Graham were saying we should have sent in the Marines. But that doesn't mean I support another war in Iraq.
There you go. One other quick comment from Twitter. Again, we're at BP Show. Ladybug0501 says, Bill, no
Ladybug.
more. Yeah, right. Like Bill, no more war. ISIL wanted to suck USA into the Middle Eastern war. Let their neighbors fight them and defend their own land.
All right, you got it. And by the way, the other thing that was chilling to me that we played the cut a little earlier, that General Dempsey saying 8 to 12 months before they are the forces that we want to train, 8 to 12 months before they will have the capability of actually going into combat on the ground against ISIS positions. So much for the Syrian moderate opposition and for the Iraqi military. Anita, out in San Antonio, Texas. What do you think, Anita?
Hi, Bill. Yeah,
Hi.
I don't support any military action in Iraq, and especially Syria. I don't believe they're an external threat to the United States. I think this is exactly what they want. They wanted to draw us in, and now that's what's happened. And even airstrikes are eventually going to lead to ground troops, because what are we going to do if one of our guys is shot down?
Absolutely. No. You know, if one of our pilots is shot down, we'll go on a rescue operation or maybe a combat mission, right, to save them. And should, I guess. I mean, yeah. I don't think there's any way around it. And you touched on one thing too, which is anybody who says that ISIS right now is a threat to the American homeland, I think, is just trying to trying to whip up the fear of the American people again. It's just absolutely not true.
Yeah, there's nothing that suggests that. The intelligence doesn't suggest that. I mean, when Al-Qaeda, was a threat, we knew that. I mean, there was intelligence that showed that.
Right. Yeah, by the way, Anita, do me a favor. Tell your governor that, will you?
Oh, God, my governor.
Yeah, I know. Rick Perry. All right. Thanks, Anita. Good to hear from you on the great WCPT out in Chicago. Hello, Wayne. What do you think?
Hello, Bill. Yeah, General Zinni, he's the retired Marine general.
Yeah.
He was saying that we need a couple of American brigades to go on the ground, and it could be done within weeks. Now, a brigade is 3,000 to 5,000 men, so you're talking about 10,000 well-trained American troops. Now, common sense will tell you if the Iraqis have 1 million men ready to fight, that we don't need two American brigades on the ground. So, and then we invaded Iraq in 2002. We left in 2011. We're supposed to have been training them all that time. So what happened to all that training?
You know what happened? Yeah, you know what happened to it? First, they ran away the first time they met ISIS on the battlefield. and turned over and abandoned their weapons.
And these generals who are talking about we need ground troops right now, they work for the military-industrial complex, so I'm not surprised at all about them requesting troops, trying to create perpetual war. The Iraqis are going to have to stand up and fight for themselves. The Shia and the Sunni are going to have to get their government together. The people have to believe in something to fight. That's why they ran away, because they didn't have something to believe in. They have to believe in their country and fight for their country, and we'll help them.
Yeah. You know what? I think you make a good point, Wayne. We'll help them, but we don't do it for them. Again, we tried to do that before. It didn't work. 9 years, 10 years, whatever it was. It's not going to work this time. Paul is in Brighton, Michigan. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Bill.
Hi.
Usually, 99% of the time I agree with you. But
okay.
I think you guys are parsing and quibbling over words like a bunch of Republicans.
That hurts, Paul. That really hurts, Paul. Go ahead.
I mean, who got the ground troops out of Iraq? President Obama.
Yeah.
This is just the media and the Republicans trying to goad him into saying ground troops because they know it's an unpopular thing and they're always trying to make the Democrats.
Paul, I would agree with you until yesterday. But yesterday, when the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, I mean, he's no this is amateur, right? Or just happened to walk into that hearing. He's our top military guy. Who makes the recommendations to the commander in chief, and he says if we need him, he'll tell the president we need him.
Yeah, but he's not the commander in chief. That's what military guys always do. They always say, well, if we need him, we'll put him in. That doesn't mean Obama's going to be that dumb. Obama's not Bush. He's not that dumb.
No, you're right. No, he's not, and he's a lot more careful, which I'm very, very grateful for. Right, but. I think the pressure. I think the pressure will be too great. I really do. Not just from the media. The pressure will be too great from the generals. I hope you're right and I'm wrong, Paul. Put it that way. Appreciate the call. Thank you. In Radford, Virginia, Davis, you're up. What's up?
Yeah, about that caller earlier who said that he wishes that we would get out of the president's way and let him do his job. I agree with him 100%. However, we have to criticize the president when it's needed. We're not doing the president any good if we don't give him our honest opinion. He might be thinking wrong, too, so we have to keep the dialogue open.
Yeah, no, good. No, it's an excellent point. There's nothing wrong with criticizing the policies of any president. That's who we are as Americans. And we could say, in this case, 100% Obama. In this case, you know what? You may not have this one right? And I think the president, I know there's no way the president wants to start another war in Iraq. He does not want that part of his legacy. But when you got the chairman of the Joint Chiefs saying we're going to need ground troops, or we may need ground troops, and if so, he would recommend them. At best, that's a mixed message coming, right, out of the administration. At best.
Yeah.
One says no way, no how, and the other says maybe. Joey in Chicago. All right, Joey, Commander Joey, General Joey, what's up?
I say this. It's an all-volunteer army, Bill. Let the professionals deal with war, and let us and the Republicans sit here and bicker like women about the war. For 6 years, I hear nobody gets behind this president. I heard every Democratic mouthpiece on every TV station say, where is the people behind this president? Now's your chance, everybody. Get behind the president now.
Do you want another war in Iraq, Joey?
No, I don't want another war, Bill. But you know what? Until rich people start getting drafted and dying, we're going to have wars forever. That's what it's about. Until the rich people, until you have a draft, that's when they're going to stop war. Until then, we're cannon fodder, Bill. We're cannon fodder.
Well, I agree with you on the draft, 100%. Absolutely, yeah. And then when the sons and daughters of members of Congress have to go to fight, then there won't be any more wars. But that doesn't mean we have to like them in the meantime or accept them or just take them without standing up and saying, this is not the right thing to do. David Jackson is standing by. Great conversation, folks. Thank you all for the calls, and I'm sorry you're not able to get to all the rest of you. Take some time out here to talk to David Jackson down at the White House for USA Today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished when they incarcerate their children, they incarcerate the whole family.
In 2011, the Media Action Grassroots Network, Working Narratives, and Prison Legal News founded the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice, an effort to call on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls. The campaign mobilized prisoners to send hundreds of letters. Advocates and families filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships were formed across the political spectrum and with groups in the criminal justice, civil rights, and public interest community. The film distribution company Participant Media and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
My hero's not yours, you probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts, you probably infected them. Feed us what you feed us, you can lay us next to them. FBI call it major crimes. Babies making babies cry.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
President Obama down in Tampa, Florida this morning, and in Atlanta. Yeah, I think it's in Tampa. Well, let's find out. I'll tell you who knows. David Jackson knows from USA Today. I lost track. I know he started in Atlanta yesterday, David, and good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. And he is in Tampa, so he flew there last night. In fact, he had a reception with some members of the military and their spouses last night.
Right. And he's touring the military base there today.
Right, MacDill Air Force Base. That's where the Central Command is, and they're basically the commanders of our military operations in a 20-country area, including the Middle East.
What was the thrust of the Ebola event yesterday, David?
Well, basically, we've been assisting West Africa for a while, but we're amping up, increasing the budget, and sending more people over there to help contain the Ebola virus. I think it largely was a response to complaints overseas that the United States wasn't doing enough. So the president, wanted to outline his plans, add a few things, make specific budget requests, and he decided to go ahead and go down to Atlanta to do it, to get a briefing directly from the Centers for Disease Control and to make a statement. And it kind of highlighted the plan. And he was successful. It got a lot of publicity.
Yeah, and he even met with a couple of the doctors, right, who had Ebola.
That was kind of odd. He met one of the doctors. He met him before leaving Washington. He met with one of the doctors who contracted Ebola, who was up here to testify before Congress. Spoke to him in the Oval Office and took off for Atlanta and talked to the experts down there.
Got it. And sending 3,000 troops to Africa, I mean, they're not doctors. What can they do about Ebola?
They're going to be building portable hospitals and medical facilities, and they're going to be providing security for people because, as the disease has spread, it's created some public safety concerns, and they're basically providing engineering and logistical help. But it's a lot of troops. I was a little bit surprised at the number, although President Obama said a couple of weeks ago that he was going to be doing this. In his Meet the Press interview, it didn't get a lot of attention because of all the other stuff going on, but he said he was going to dispatch military members down to Africa, and it turns out the number is 3,000. But we're talking about at least 3 countries that have been hard hit by Ebola and 3 others that have cases, so it's a pretty large area at this point.
David Jackson covers the White House for USA Today on our newsline here this Wednesday. So, David, you and I, sitting in the briefings the last couple of weeks, we've heard Josh Earnest say over and over again, no, every day, several times, no ground troops, no combat boots on the ground in Iraq or Syria. The president certainly said that in his speech last Wednesday night. Yesterday, General Martin Dempsey said maybe something a little different. What's going on?
Well, it depends who you talk to, as with most things. But Dempsey's people would say he was responding to a question about contingencies, and he basically said, "Yeah, if things get bad there, I would recommend. I could see a situation where I could conceivably recommend ground troops," and that's what his people are saying. He was just responding to a hypothetical posed by a senator.
Yeah, and he also indicated that he might be able to persuade the president to change his mind, right?
Right, exactly. And that's we talked to some other people, and we've been hearing from people from the Pentagon for weeks that we're going to need ground troops in order to defeat ISIL. We heard it even back when the fight was confined to Iraq, and there's even been some people out of the Pentagon who were saying, hey, you know what, we're going to need ground troops to go after ISIL in Syria. So there are people in the Pentagon who believe that they can't get the job done without ground troops, and they're making their voices heard now. Whether Dempsey was reflecting those or not, I don't know. I don't know what was in his mind, and I didn't see the testimony, but I know that this has been kind of a sticking point for a while, kind of behind the scenes, and then the Pentagon's basically saying, hey, don't foreclose the possibility of ground troops, and the White House is saying no. And when Obama's telling people behind the scenes, hey, I'm not sending ground troops in there. I wasn't elected to recreate wars in Iraq, and so it's going to be kind of a standoff. But there is a solution here, Bill, that a lot of people don't talk about. They could use special forces on covert operations, and we would never hear about it. So,
well, there's another solution that they could wear golf shoes, right?
Yeah, I saw that cartoon. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, right.
People, we already have had ground troops in Syria. Remember the rescue operation for those 2 journalists who were kidnapped? So, I mean, it wouldn't... And we all know the president likes special forces, so I suspect there's going to be stuff going on in Iraq and Syria we're not going to go about. But in terms of a big ground offensive, a la wars we've seen in the past, I'd be very surprised if this president authorized it. It's probably a dilemma that's going to confront his successor.
It just seems a little confusing, if not embarrassing, for the White House to be saying one thing and the Pentagon to be saying another.
Well, it's just a difference of opinion. I mean, the president's adamant about no ground troops, but others are saying we can't get the job done without them.
Yeah, it's just surprising to me when the commander-in-chief said one thing that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs even suggest, right, that may change.
Well, again, I think Dempsey would tell you he was responding to a question from the senators, and he has all kind of contingencies. We've got war plans against every country on earth. So they would say that he was just talking. He was responding to a theoretical question from a lawmaker. But you're right. There is, the Pentagon. They're going to make their position known, and there are people over there who say, hey, sooner or later we're going to have to send ground troops in there.
So we've got about 6 weeks left. The president's going to be ramping up his fundraising activities, I guess, or not, maybe not fundraising, but certainly campaign activities.
Well, I'll be very interested to see that, Bill. He is going to continue to do fundraising, I think. They say he is going to campaign for individual candidates starting in October, but we haven't seen any specific invitations or specific schedules, and I'll be curious to see how many events he does for specific candidates and what the situation is.
Yeah.
I know he wants to go to Florida to campaign for Charlie Crist. I mean, that's one thing I would keep my eye on, and I assume that there are other candidates in other states who would welcome him. Maybe the guy in Connecticut who's got a kind of tough re-election for governor, somebody like that. But
some will welcome and some will say...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, with these Democrats running for the Senate in southern states, I don't think they'd be too crazy about having the president down there.
I think so. All right, David, the president on the road today, so I won't see you at the briefing, but we'll catch up soon enough. Thanks for this morning.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
All right, David Jackson at the White House, USA Today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, take a little time out now to for just a word about Free Speech TV, how important it is, and how much we depend on your help. You know, I hate to tell you this, but I've been around this radio and television business for a long time now, starting out with KABC TV in Los Angeles and KABC Talk Radio, moving on the radio front over to KFI Radio, and on TV over to KCOP Radio, and then bouncing back here to Washington, D.C., 6 years on CNN at Crossfire, and then a couple of years at MSNBC with Pat Buchanan on Buchanan and Press, and then Current TV, of course, covering and carrying our nationally syndicated radio show on a simulcast. But I got to tell you, with all of those different great organizations I've worked for, I have never felt that so totally free and so totally independent in terms of broadcasting the news of the day as I do here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV, that's what it is. I mean, it's a progressive voice channel, 24/7, totally independent. As you know, no government funding and no corporate funding and no big donor pressure at all. Totally independent. And how do we do it? Well, that's thanks to you and to your support. We couldn't do without it. And that's why we turn to you once or twice a year to ask you to first of all, to thank you for being so generous, and then to ask you to help out again as much as you can. And there's some premiums that we can offer this time around, maybe to make it more attractive for you to dig in and help us out. If you can help us with just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll send you a Bill Press mug and a pound of coffee. For $240, that mug, that coffee, and a French press. That's just $20 a month. For $30 a month, $360 a year, a mug, a coffee, the French press, and you'll participate in what we're calling Voices of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute phone conversation about whatever issue you want to talk about or issues you want to talk about, and we'll put all those together and we'll air them on our show as Voices of the People. You can be part of that. And if somehow you can make your way to Washington, D.C. and send $1,000 to Free Speech TV, make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you into the studio the next morning to watch the show. However, whatever level you can help out, please give us a call at 877-378-8669 or go to the website freespeech.org. Help as much as you can, and thank you for being so generous and allowing us to do a great job with you every day. Latest on the NFL coming up next.
Speaking of the NFL, Senator Maria Cantwell yesterday announced she is going to introduce legislation to eliminate the NFL's tax-exempt status because they have a refusal to address the name of the Washington football team.
No.
That's the thing in all of this. Remember, the NFL is a tax-exempt company.
Wow. Good for her.
Yeah.
So she's taking on that Washington football team.
Taking it on.
Dan Snyder, are you listening?
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, good morning, friends and neighbors. What do you say? Let's take a little time out here from this morning's show to talk about Free Speech TV. You know what they say? There's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, there's no such thing as free speech either. Well, in a sense there is. I mean, you don't have to pay for it every time you watch it. You don't have to drop a quarter like in the parking meter to keep it going. But it still costs a lot of money to run a cable television channel nationwide, especially if you want to be independent of all other forces. And, you know, the people who founded free speech, they had some choices. They could either fill up the airtime with paid commercials like they do on all the other networks. They said, no, we don't want to do that. They could turn to the government for help. No, we don't want to do that. That's another kind of dependency. Or we could just go out to the corporate world like the Koch brothers and get all kinds of money for that from Sheldon Adelson and Foster Friess and the Koch brothers. No, we definitely want to do that. Founders of free speech decided they're going to count on you, count on our viewers to keep us going and to keep free speech on the air. That's the only way that we can be completely free and independent and fearless every day. Look, we know you appreciate Free Speech TV. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching. We know you love tuning in every day to Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman, and me. I hope on the list as well. Now we need your help to keep it going, to keep this great channel going. And we'll make it a two-way street. You help us, we'll help you. So some incentives to help us during this pledge drive. Be as generous as you can, as you always are. And if you can help us with just $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a Bill Press Show mug and a pound of coffee. If you help us with $20 a month, $240 a year, send you the mug and a coffee and a French press for $360 or $30 a month. Very, very special. We'll send you the mug, the coffee, the French press, and then you get to participate in what we're calling Voices of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute telephone call, one-on-one call on any issues of the day. We're going to put all the recordings of all those calls together and play that on the air as Voices of the People from all of our good friends out in free speech land. And then if you can do something very special and help free speech, help all of us with $1,000. You make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner. We'll have a good time. You come in the next morning and watch the show here in studio with us. The way to join in, of course, is go to our phone number, 877-378-8669, or go to the website at freespeech.org. Again, you've been wonderful, wonderful to us. That's why we're here. So keep us going, and please be as generous as you can, and we thank you.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan.
And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees. which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
Nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
American ground forces, combat boots in Syria. The president says, no way. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs says, maybe. Oh, hello, here we go. Hello, everybody. Wednesday, September 17th. So good to see you today. And on this Wednesday, we'll hopscotch with you across the news of the day, wherever it's happening here in our nation's capital, around the country, and around the globe. And, of course, open up the phones and the social media to get your comments, what it all means to you, to your family, and to your community. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. So good to have you with us today. With as a very, very busy today, the president down in Tampa. He'll be touring Fort McGill down there today, meeting with the military command, and then heading back here to Washington, D.C., where he'll find us all busy at the day's work. Peter Ogburn and Elisa Murphy. Hello, guys.
Here we are.
Hey.
Alicia Cruz, ready to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, celebrating the Nats' big win last night. We all are. That's our right. Videographer, with his, last time I looked, he had his Nats cap on.
He's still representing.
And we've got a double celebration today because... there it is, the front page, sports page of the Washington Post. National celebration, indeed. But just up the road in Balmer, hon, they're celebrating too because Nats won the Eastern Division of the National League, and the Orioles last night also, within like 30 minutes.
About 30 minutes later.
Wrapped up the lead in the Eastern Division of the American League. How about that?
It's pretty cool.
Could we be heading for an Orioles-Nats World Series?
Could go that way. It'd be
Good.
cool, man.
Well, that was,
go to every game of the World Series if you wanted to.
I know. Yeah, we may be on hiatus come October. Right. You may not see us for a while, but anyhow. Peter Ogburn, I already introduced you.
What are you doing?
What am I doing? No. Okay. Well, there was a lot of news over the weekend, of course, about the big steak fry out in Iowa. The stars were Bill and Hillary Clinton. I've got that backwards. Hillary and Bill Clinton.
That's right.
For Senator Tom Harkin, our good friend, and love him so much. Tom Harkin's 37th annual and final steak fry. And Hillary, of course, was teasing the crowd. You know, she was so glad to be back in Iowa, and she'll be back again, and she's got a lot on her mind, but she hasn't made up her mind. Jon Stewart had a little different take on what was really going through Hillary's mind last night. Remember, 7 years ago, last time she was there, she got trounced in the caucuses by Barack Obama. Even John Edwards beat her. Here's Jon Stewart's take on it.
It's the subject of tonight's Democalypse 2016. Willery or won'tery? We run out of those things pretty quick. All right, now listen. Of course, Secretary Clinton had not set foot in Iowa since her defeat in the Iowa caucus in 2008.
Hello, Iowa! I'm back!
Even though you me over! I came in third behind Edwards, you motherfuckers! Edwards! Where's my steak?
That's what it was really all about. All right. Hey, we're going to talk NFL, the latest overnight news breaking on Adrian Peterson. After all, Ben Volin from the Boston Globe will bring us up to date on all of that. Well, a little bit later in the hour, we'll be talking to Matt Gertz from Media Matters. And in the next hour, not the Koch brothers, but the Koch sisters are going to be here in studio with us. Very excited to meet them. But first, Peter?
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Americans are going back to space.
Yeah, how about
yesterday,
it?
NASA made the big announcement. They have awarded contracts to Boeing and SpaceX to start space taxis.
SpaceX, they've been guests in our studio here.
That's right.
Remember?
Yeah, they've been shut.
We all signed up for a space flight.
Yeah. Well, not exactly. You know, NASA ended the space shuttle program back in 2011, and so since that shuttle program was retired, we've been putting members of NASA on Russian Soyuz spacecraft, which cost about $70 million per seat. So now what they are doing is we're going to have our own companies, our own American companies, taking our folks up to the International Space Station. Contracts are worth a total of $6.8 billion, $4.2 billion for Boeing, $2.6 for SpaceX. They're both going to have to undergo safety requirements and all that stuff before any of it.
I like it. We should not have to hitch rides from the Russians.
I agree. I agree. You remember Tony Stewart, the NASCAR driver who fatally struck a man in a car race back in August. Turns out
he ran over him.
Well, yeah, he ran over him. Turns out that his fate is now in the hands of a grand jury. Ontario County, New York District Attorney announced yesterday that a grand jury is going to look into the case, and they're going to discuss and decide whether or not to bring charges against Tony Stewart for that fatal car accident. So stay tuned on that. We'll keep following it. But
I'm telling you, the video is pretty horrific.
Video is not good. Video is not good. And the Postal Service announced they are going to be commemorating chefs in a new series of Forever Stamps. A new series of stamps that's going to be available September 26th. Will feature Edna Lewis, James Beard, Joyce Chen, Philippe Rojas Lombardi, and Julia Child. You'll be able to get Julia Child on a stamp, along with all those other famous chefs.
Edna Lewis the joy of cooking? No?
No, she's a Southern chef that is no longer with us, but you'll be able to get this chef series starting again September 26th.
Do you know who is lacking there? The Southern chef. I'm blanking on her name. The butter.
I don't think they're going to put Paula Dean.
Paula Dean. That's what I mean. Paula Dean.
I don't think it's going to
think so?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Thank you, Peter. 13 minutes after the hour. Yeah, it has been a bad run lately for the NFL. Every day, it seems, another shoe drops. Ben Volin covers the NFL for the Boston Globe, joining us on our newsline this morning. Hey, Ben, how are you?
Morning, Phil. How are you today?
All right. Good to have you with us. You're on your cell phone?
I am, yes.
Okay, good. There you go. Cleared up a little bit there. So, Adrian Peterson, last time we checked, yesterday, despite the charges of child abuse, which he says was just stern parenting, he was going to play. He hadn't been suspended or nothing. All of that changed overnight. How did it change and why?
It changed because the Vikings received a ton of public pressure when they announced around noontime yesterday that Adrian Peterson was going to be welcomed back to the team, and he was going to practice and play until his legal situation was resolved, and it just did not fly with the public, who's pretty sick and tired of seeing the NFL bungle these situations and let these guys play through some pretty heinous and serious sounding charges of domestic violence and child abuse. And sponsors started to pull out. Radisson Hotels said they were going to suspend their sponsorship. Nike removed all Adrian Peterson stuff from their stores. So the sponsors started taking notice, and that's when it took about 14 hours for the Vikings to realize that we need to do something better about this. And at 1:47 a.m., talk about burying the news, they announced that Peterson would go on the commissioner's reserved exempt list. It's something like that, where basically he's still going to get paid. They can't take away his livelihood. He's still going to get paid, but he's been deactivated. He's going to be suspended. And they said until his legal situation is resolved, which means he might be done for the rest of the season, which would be an interesting course of action for the Vikings.
Yeah, because these things don't necessarily, the legal process doesn't work that fast, not always at any rate. You know.
No, I believe he's doing court sometime around October, but yeah, if he's not going to play again until it's resolved, it wouldn't be until next year. So it looks like, it took some arm twisting and a lot of pressure from the public and more importantly from the corporate sponsors.
Yeah.
So it sounds like the Vikings are doing the right thing here.
I think there was a great turning point in this whole discussion, and it applies to Ray Rice, Ray McDonald, Adrian Peterson, any of the athletes that are currently in trouble, when Chris Carter said the only thing that these guys respect is taking them off the damn field. Take them off the field. And so now,
that's the language they speak.
That's the language they speak. Money doesn't matter. Kids don't matter. Women don't matter. But that playing time seems to matter. That seems to resonate with them. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely.
So my thing now is, what is that going to do to the Vikings as a team? I know that should probably not be the first and highest priority, right? But this is their most high-octane player, and they're sort of setting a standard now that we're willing to put our player down rather than deal with this controversy and potential money loss. How does a team move on from this?
I mean, 18 hours ago they weren't. It's always one of my favorite quotes from former Dallas Cowboys coach Jimmy Johnson. He's got different rules for the Joes and the pros. If you're a guy like Adrian Peterson, they kind of look the other way and they want you back on the field and they'll let due process play out. But if you're a bench warmer or a backup or someone who's not important, they'll make an example out of you and they'll cut you right away. And we don't stand for domestic violence. And it's just amazing how the Vikings, they had this scandal back in 2005. It's called the Love Boat Scandal, where a bunch of players got pretty lewd and lascivious with some strippers on a party cruise and everything. And Ziggy Wilf came out, the Vikings owner, and said, "I don't care about due process. This is doesn't meet the standards of the Vikings." And he suspended all the players before any of the legal process played out. So he didn't care about due process then. But this time with his superstar Adrian Peterson, we're going to let this thing play out in court. And then the corporate sponsors started pulling their money out of the Vikings organization, and that's when they suddenly got a moral compass and said, we're going to sit him now, and this is the right thing to do.
Well, do you think this will be become the standard for the league? I mean, what about Ray McDonald and Greg Hardy? Or Handy, is it Hardy? Hardy, yeah, right. I mean, they've got outstanding charges, and they're playing until the legal process is resolved.
Right. I mean, these guys do have rights, and you can't just take away their livelihood willy-nilly. But I would say that there's no reason they should be playing. You can deactivate them. You can suspend them with pay. And I think that's certainly a fair outcome for everyone involved. Greg Hardy, we're not going to take away your paycheck, but you've lost the right for now until this thing is resolved to represent the Carolina Panthers and to be a superstar athlete and to play. That's what they should do. But obviously, look, these teams, these leagues, they're in it for one reason, to win football games, and a second, to make money.
And make
the money.
Yeah, it's about money and it's about winning. That's what it is. Anything that's about setting an example and being a moral compass, come on, it's all secondary to these teams, and now they're getting burned for it.
That's kind of what I wanted to ask. I mean, should the Vikings really get any credit for this? Should they really get any credit for doing the right thing?
No, they shouldn't, and Roger Goodell shouldn't get credit for suspending Ray Rice indefinitely after the videotape came out. The NFL has been completely reactionary in the last 2 weeks, which is really unfortunate. They talk about how they're leaders in the community and leaders, and they're not leading at all. They're just following. They're just listening to public pressure and then doing whatever the public, whichever way the wind blows, I guess. I really would have liked to see the Panthers step up and suspend Hardy, right off the bat instead of letting him play. Same with Adrian Peterson. The Vikings did the right thing, then they killed all their goodwill yesterday by announcing that he was going to return to play, and the one-game suspension was enough.
Yeah.
It seems that they're just not taking this stuff seriously enough.
So does Roger Goodell survive this, and should he survive this?
I think the only way he doesn't is if this investigation that the NFL launched that's really friendly, and again, it's all the same old cronies.
Right,
They're just linked up to the elbows with this investigation. But if it comes out that he willingly chose not to view the videotape, or he saw it anyway and came down on a 2-game suspension, or it caught him in some terrible lie, then yes, I could see him certainly getting ousted. However, I still fully expect him to remain in this position. He has made the owners a ton of money since he became the commissioner in 2006, helped them negotiate a really favorable collective bargaining agreement that has put a ton more money in their pockets. And I don't think he lied. I think this was probably willful ignorance. There's no excuse for him not seeing the tape, but he probably is telling the truth that he didn't see the tape. I don't think it would benefit him to lie about that. But again, there was no reason for him not to see the tape. The 2-game suspension for Ray Rice was completely tone deaf from the beginning, and now it just looks even worse. And they've got a real crisis on their hands, but I still expect Goodell to probably survive this mess.
Yeah, well, man, I got to tell you, we haven't heard the end of this story yet, for sure, and it just goes on and on. But, Ben, you've been doing great work on this, and we appreciate getting some of your time this morning. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much.
Ben Volin at the Boston Globe, bostonglobe.com, of course. So what do you think? I mean, do you think Goodell should survive? And this thing on Adrian Peterson, I mean, the truth of it is, and Peter, you made this point too, they would not have acted if it weren't public outrage, fine. Media, fine. When the sponsors started threatening to pull their money out, then they finally said, "Oh my God, we can't stand this." When Anheuser-Busch, which is identified with the NFL,
absolutely,
said we're starting to rethink this. So at 1:47 a.m. this morning, they put out the news. Adrian Peterson is on the special commissioners list with the exempt list.
We can see right through them.
Absolutely. Your call's welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies.
In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania.
Fracking pollutes our oceans.
Fracking poisons our water. Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer.
Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey, friends and neighbors, take a little time out now for just a word about Free Speech TV, how important it is, and how much we depend on your help. I hate to tell you this, but I've been around this radio and television business for a long time now, starting out with KABC TV in Los Angeles and KABC Talk Radio, moving on the radio front over to KFI Radio, and on TV over to KCOP Radio, and then bouncing back here to Washington, D.C., 6 years on CNN at Crossfire, and then a couple of years at MSNBC with Pat Buchanan on Buchanan and Press, and then Current TV, of course, covering and carrying our nationally syndicated radio show on a simulcast. But I got to tell you, with all of those different great organizations I've worked for, I have never felt that so totally free and so totally independent in terms of broadcasting the news of the day as I do here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV, that's what it is. I mean, it's a progressive voice channel, 24/7, totally independent. As you know, no government funding and no corporate funding and no big donor pressure at all. Totally independent. And how do we do it? Well, that's thanks to you and to your support. We couldn't do without it. And that's why we turn to you once or twice a year to ask you to first of all, to thank you for being so generous, and then to ask you to help out again as much as you can. And there's some premiums that we can offer this time around, maybe to make it more attractive for you to dig in and help us out. If you can help us with just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll send you a Bill Press mug and a pound of coffee. For $240, that mug, that coffee, and a French press. That's just $20 a month. For $30 a month, $360 a year, a mug, a coffee, the French press, and you'll participate in what we're calling Voices of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute phone conversation about whatever issue you want to talk about or issues you want to talk about, and we'll put all those together and we'll air them on our show as Voices of the People. You can be part of that. And if somehow you can make your way to Washington, D.C. and send $1,000 to Free Speech TV, make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you into the studio the next morning to watch the show. However, whatever level you can help out, please give us a call at 877-378-8669 or go to the website freespeech.org. Help as much as you can, and thank you for being so generous and allowing us to do a great job with you every day. The latest on the NFL, the Vikings finally getting it right and saying that Adrian Peterson, who has been indicted on child abuse charges, will not be playing after all. The total 180 on their part, but they certainly turned in the right direction after saying all day yesterday that, he's going to play. He's going to play. You know, we'll let his legal affairs just kind of work themselves out, but it's not going to impact whether or not he should be on the field. They, at 1:47 this morning, announced a change of direction. Marcia is calling from down in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hi, Marcia.
Hey, I think I must be one of the few that disagrees with all this stuff. I mean, I'm totally against domestic violence. I mean, I've experienced it. But your job, I don't think these guys, the NFL, is responsible for these guys. If anything, they should be offering them counseling, just like if they were an alcoholic or something like that. They should be prosecuted, and their legal issue should be separate from their employment. It's just like if you went out over the weekend and you got in a fight and you knocked somebody out or what have you, that when you come to work Monday, they don't even necessarily know what happened to you over the weekend.
Well, there's one problem with that, Marcia, is that these players sign a contract, and that contract includes a code of conduct, and they promise themselves, they swear under oath that they will conduct themselves like good citizens.
This
and
is
they
the
haven't
Bill
done
Press
so.
Show.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Hey, what do you say, friends and neighbors? Good to see you today. I want to take a little time out from the news of the day to talk about something very, very, very important. And we've got for you today, well, you've heard all about the Ice Bucket Challenge, right? That the most successful fundraising effort, I think, ever in history to raise money to find a cure for that dreadful disease, ALS. Well, we've got something a little different than the Ice Bucket Challenge and maybe a little more comforting. It's not the Ice Bucket Challenge today. It's the Coffee Challenge, yeah. And we also want the Coffee Challenge, to raise money for Free Speech TV to be the most successful fundraising effort ever for Free Speech TV, especially here on the Bill Press program. Now, this is so much easier. You don't have to get all a bucket of ice water over your head. You don't even, of course, you don't have to have hot coffee poured over your head. Here's how it works. You help us at Free Speech TV, and we will send you tons of coffee to enjoy, depending on how much you can help, of course. Now, I don't have to tell you why we need your help. Free Speech TV, the only truly independent cable television network out there at all, and the only truly progressive television network out there. And the only way we can stay independent is no government money, no corporate money, no foundation money. It is all just your donations that keep us going. And look what you get for your dollar. You get this great lineup of progressive hosts every day, me and Tom Hartman, Stephanie Miller, Amy Goodman, and others all day long, bringing you the news of the day with our commentary, our insights, and, of course, your calls and your comments as well. So for the Coffee Challenge, if you can help us with just $10 a month, $120, we'll send you a pound of coffee and a Bill Press mug. If you can help us with $240 or just $20 a month, we'll send you that mug and a pound of coffee and a French press. How about it? To put it all together. For $30 a month, $360, the mug, the coffee, the French press, of course, and something very, very special, you'll be part of what we're calling Voice of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute telephone conversation. We'll record all those telephone conversations of people at the $360 level. We'll put them together and play them on the air, your chance to become a national celebrity with me here on the Bill Press Show. That's for $30 a month or $360. And, of course, if you have the means and are willing to send $1,000 to Free Speech TV, God bless you. You make your way to Washington. Carol and I will take you out to dinner and invite you into the studio the next morning to watch the show. Help us as much as you can. Join the Coffee Challenge at 1-877-378-8669 or go to our website, freespeech.org. All of us here at Free Speech need your help, and thank you for your help.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Wednesday, September 17, 33 minutes after the hour. The Bill Press Show in Washington, D.C., and our studio on Capitol Hill. Coming at you nationwide on your local progressive talk radio station, nationwide on Free Speech TV, and worldwide on our video stream, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TawkrTV, and brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, the good men and women of the Teamsters Union. We all live better because of their good work under President Jim Hoffa, and you find out more about their information at teamster.org. By the way, I don't know what made me think of this, Peter, but today, Wednesday, is the opening day of the new Nuns on the Bus tour.
Oh!
In Des Moines, Iowa.
That's
Sister
right.
Simone Campbell was in the studio with us last week, you may recall. And they are going to be joined at the launch of their tour today by Vice President Joe Biden.
Man.
How about that? He's flying all the way out to Des Moines to be there with the Nuns on the Bus. That's a great rollout, yeah. Good for them and good for him to join them.
Nice.
Meanwhile, in Washington, D.C., an event almost as exciting, there's going to be a congressional hearing on Benghazi. What? Hello? How many? Well, this is the first hearing of the yet new committee appointed by John Boehner, headed by Congressman Trey Gowdy from Louisiana. Media Matters has been looking back at how much coverage there's been of Benghazi, particularly on Fox News, which seems to be the nonstop Benghazi channel. And Matt Gertz from Media Matters, Deputy Research Director, is here in the studio with us to tell us all about it. Hi, Matt. How you doing?
Hey, Bill. Thanks for having me.
I mean, every time we look up here, right, you got Fox and Friends on one of our monitors, and every time we look up, they're talking Benghazi every morning for the last 2 years? What?
Oh, yeah, 2 years. And, that's actually how we came up with the idea to do this report that we put out yesterday at MediaMatters.org. We basically were thinking, wow, Fox is always talking about Benghazi. And, we spent a lot of time doing sort of individual fact checks of particular segments, pointing out the various falsehoods that they're using to attack the administration or Hillary Clinton or what have you. But we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could sort of find a way to sum up and tabulate how much total coverage they've been giving this thing. I have to admit that was my idea, and everyone who works with me now hates me because we spent literally 6 months pulling together all of the data to try to get a number for how much time Fox spent covering this story.
And by the way, I want to hear the result, what you found, but it's almost exclusively Fox, right? This obsession with Benghazi. You don't see it on CNN or MSNBC or NBC or whatever.
I mean, you see it a bit when there's a major development, and I'm sure that there'll be some coverage today, probably pretty decent coverage on those other networks.
I mean the nonstop daily
absolutely.
pounding.
I mean, it's a cause celeb for them. It's literally been their big story for the last couple of years. They've hitched their wagon to it. They think that this is the one that's either going to bring down the administration or make them look really good as reporters.
So how many segments did you find in that? So the period was what, 2 years?
So the period was from September 11th, 2012, when the attacks in Benghazi, Libya happened, through May 2nd of 2014, when John Boehner announced the creation of the Select Committee that is meeting today here in Washington.
So 20 months.
20 months, yep. And we looked at 5 shows, mainly because they were in Nexus, and so the transcripts were easily available. So it's The Five, which is the panel show that's basically 4 conservatives yelling at one liberal for an hour.
Yeah, right.
Special Report, which is the sort of flagship, this is our real news show for Fox.
With Bret Baier, right?
With Bret Baier, yeah. And then the show's hosted by Bill O'Reilly, Sean Hannity, and Greta Van Susteren. So 5 shows, 20 months.
You didn't look at Fox and Friends?
Unfortunately, Fox and Friends is not in Nexus, and so it would be a massive.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you, I can tell you, they talk about it all the time.
Oh yeah.
No,
we know.
because that's the one we see in the morning. Yeah.
Absolutely. But we found 20 months, 5 shows, 1,098 segments.
Oh my God.
That's not mentions. That's individual full segments on those programs.
And how many shows?
On 5 shows.
On the 5 shows.
On the 5 shows.
1,100 segments.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And all of it, and the coverage has been basically all critical, all saying cover up, all saying this could have been stopped. Obama didn't do his job. Hillary didn't do their job. If they had acted sooner, the lives of Chris Stevens, Ambassador Chris Stevens, and the others could have been saved, right? I mean, that's the whole
that's
thrust.
Absolutely right. I mean, we went through and we looked at a bunch of different factors and we sort of coded them out, but it came out to 281 different segments that alleged that there was a cover-up by the administration. Almost half of the segments were actually in some way about the talking points that Susan Rice used in a set of Sunday show interviews in September of 2012. They're still talking about a set of talking points 2 years later.
Beat that horse to death.
Absolutely. We found 120 different comparisons to Watergate or Iran-Contra or Nixonian tactics in general on a part of the administration, and 100 different segments that promoted the lie that there was a stand-down order given to U.S. personnel to prevent them from going to help Chris Stevens, presumably to help Obama get reelected somehow. The explanation for why this would have been a good idea has always been kind of far-fetched.
Now, there was
disproven, obviously, many times.
There was one investigation led by Thomas Pickering and forget
Mike Mullen.
Admiral Mike Mullen, thank you, which looked especially at this overall, right? And they were very critical of some of the steps that were not taken. but they looked at the idea that there was a stand-down order given, and they said emphatically, no, it did not happen. Fox just ignores that?
I mean, literally every investigation of the events of that night have come to the conclusion that there was no stand-down order. That there was, at some point in the CIA annex, a disagreement about whether they should leave to go help the people at the diplomatic compound immediately, or if they should come up with a plan first. That's literally the dispute. It's the commander saying we need a plan before we go out there, and the other guys saying we should go now and then come up with a plan. That's the dispute. And then there was a second series of allegations about the team, a military team in Tripoli that wanted to go to the help of the people in Benghazi. But there have been a series of investigations into this by the Senate Select Intelligence Committee, by the House Armed Services Committee, and all of them have interviewed all the witnesses in question, have emphatically said that there was no administration stand-down order saying don't go help people in Benghazi.
Where does this, what's driving this coverage of Benghazi? I mean, it's almost like Fox is getting its orders from the RNC or from the anti-Hillary campaign or from Karl Rove saying, you got to keep covering this because this is going to be Hillary's Achilles heel?
I'm of two minds about this. I think that there's clearly some people in the conservative movement that think that this is an actual winner, right? That by linking this to Hillary Clinton, they can prevent her from running successfully in 2016.
Right.
And we looked through this, and we found 105 different attempts in these Fox News segments that we reviewed, 105 attempts to link Benghazi to a potential Hillary Clinton 2016 campaign. So there are definitely people thinking about this and trying to draw those connections. At the same time, I think that there's been such a sort of Keystone Cops thing going on here where the Republicans are literally running into each other, trying to deal with this issue and running around talking about crazy conspiracies that only make them look ridiculous, that it doesn't tend to make a lot of sense as an election winner. What it does make sense as is a moneymaker. Because
moneymaker for
Fox News and for conservatives. You see a lot of conservative groups using Benghazi as a way to fundraise. They'll put out emails that tell their lists, you need to sign this petition and then donate money to us so that we can stop people from, stop the people that caused Benghazi from getting away with it, more or less. And they're not talking about the terrorists, they're talking about Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
I guess Fox would not be doing it if they weren't getting good ratings too, right?
Right. So last Friday, or the Friday before last, Fox ran a 1-hour special on Benghazi at 10 o'clock on a Friday night, and it got 4 million viewers. 10 o'clock on a Friday.
There are a lot better things to do at 10 o'clock on a Friday night.
But there are 4 million Americans who are glued to their television watching Fox News to hear about Benghazi. It clearly does get ratings for them, and I think that they definitely want to exploit that.
Was there anything new in that 1-hour special?
No, it was all stuff that they had mainly covered over the previous couple of days. They sort of rolled out this set of interviews with a couple of CIA operators who had been on the ground in Benghazi and who wrote a book about their experiences. And so that was what they basically aired a lot of it the previous couple of nights on Special Report, and then they put it all together into one big special.
And where can people see your report?
At MediaMatters.org.
MediaMatters.org. Just look for the big report on Benghazi. Matt Gertz is here. It was his idea.
Sorry,
to
guys.
launch this report. That's right. We always say you listen to Rush Limbaugh and you watch Fox News, so we don't have to. That's why we love Media Matters. It's MediaMatters.org. Matt Gertz here. You want to join us? You know how to do so. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Two anti-government, self-described revolutionaries have shot up a pizza restaurant as well as a Walmart in Las Vegas.
The internationally syndicated political series, The David Pakman Show, provides progressive talk, analysis, and interviews with the nation's youngest radio and television host, David Pakman. Find out more and catch up on all the latest episodes by visiting our website at freespeech.org.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Tune in to Gay USA with hosts Ann Northrup and Andy Hum for in-depth coverage of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender news. Watch Gay USA every week, only on Free Speech TV.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, the Koch sisters. Not the Koch brothers. We don't want those guys. The Koch sisters are going to be here in studio with us in the next hour. Very, very excited right now. We're talking Benghazi, believe it or not, but actually we're talking Fox's obsession with Benghazi with Media Matters Deputy Research Director Matt Gertz and their new report just released yesterday on the extent of coverage on Benghazi on Fox News over the last 20 months. And Matt, again, thank you so much for coming in. So today, your report is issued the day before. We have this yet another Benghazi here. So Darrell Issa, I guess, just ran out of gas, and then they decided they needed yet another committee.
So it's unclear what exactly the thinking was here. I think on the one hand, the sort of congressional Republican leadership thought that this wasn't really working out for them. There were 5 different committees all holding hearings on this. They were running into each other.
And Issa's an idiot. And Issa kept holding these hearings and making these outrageous statements and not letting Democrats talk. And
right. I mean, he's basically acting like an absurd buffoon. And I think that they sort of realized that was not a good look for them. And so they wanted to have someone else in charge of it. So they brought in now Trey Gowdy, who is a member of the Oversight Committee, but is now the chairman of this select committee. Mm-hmm. And he'll be leading the investigation, leading the hearing
What do
today.
they hope to get out of this?
I don't really know. So this particular hearing is going to be about how the administration is sort of using the recommendations that the State Department Assessment Review Board put forward. You may remember that after the attack happened, the State Department established a team led by Thomas Pickering, former ambassador, and Admiral Mike Mullen.
Right.
They were going to figure out both what happened and how to make sure that we don't have a situation like this again. Obviously, diplomatic work is always going to be extremely dangerous, especially in this part of the world. But they came up with a series of recommendations to try to make it less likely that we would see something like this again. And so today's hearing was actually suggested by a Democratic member of that committee, Representative Adam Schiff, I believe, who said, "Well, here's some place we can start, like an actual hearing that would actually be useful to the American people. Let's find out whether those recommendations are actually being applied and how they're being used, and what steps are being taken to make sure that we don't have an attack like Benghazi again."
Right. Tell us about this chart, by the way.
This is my favorite chart of all the ones that we have. So we went through, when we were doing this massive study of 1,098 Fox News segments on 5 shows over 20 months, we checked off every time we saw a Republican member of Congress or a Democratic member of Congress or a Democratic member of the administration getting interviewed on Fox News.
Mm-hmm.
There were 144 interviews with Republicans during that time period.
Yeah.
There were 5 with Democrats. 5!
Well, fair and balanced.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fair and balanced.
Yeah.
So we found...
I think 5 Democrats are as good as any 144 Republicans.
27 times. Lindsey Graham alone was interviewed on Fox News about Benghazi 27 times.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
John McCain had a mere 15.
No.
Nah, it's a shame.
Uh-oh.
I guess he, night shows are not as much his thing, I guess, as the Sunday morning political talk shows.
Oh, man. 144 to 5. That says it all, doesn't it? It really does.
That's crazy.
To me, these guys remind me of the birthers.
Yeah,
right?
I think that's right.
I mean, no matter what, President Obama, they sent a guy over to Hawaii, came back with a long form, the short one. I put the short one up during his presidential campaign. Comes back with a long form. I was at the White House when they handed the long form out. There's still people who don't believe, refuse to believe the facts, refuse to believe that President Obama was born in this country. And these guys, no matter how many investigations, legitimate that there would be, who discount any of these conspiracy theories, any of the cover-up theories, they will never believe it.
Well, it's the classic definition of a conspiracy theorist, right? There's no piece of information you can give them, none, that will convince them that they're not right about this crazy, massive cover-up to cover up the fact that President Obama wanted Americans to die. Like, there's just not a way you can convince them that isn't actually what's going on. And so, we've seen this repeated over and over again for the last 2 years. I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I think that this new select committee, we'll see what they actually do. But I think that there's no doubt that Fox News and conservatives in the media are going to keep pushing these same debunked lies.
Yeah, it's certainly going to continue through November 2016.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, assuming Hillary runs, no doubt about that. I believe, assuming that she's the nominee, right? It'll be all the way through. They think this is the one that they can break her on.
I think that's right. I mean, I was telling you
that's what it's all about.
I was telling you in the break. This reminds me a lot of John Kerry in 2004. It's the Karl Rove strategy of going after your political opponents at their strong points, not their weak points.
Yeah.
So you're not going to avoid the fact that Hillary Clinton has probably the most experience on foreign policy of any presidential candidate that we've seen in decades, assuming that she runs. So they're going to go right at that, and they're going to say Benghazi, Benghazi, Benghazi for like the whole of her campaign. It'll be up to the media to decide how they want to treat that.
Another swift boat attack. Oh, man, Matt, great work on this. Really, really good. Very important stuff. At least you poke a hole at Fox if anybody's willing to look through it. At media, look at the whole report at MediaMatters.org. And Matt, thanks so much for your time.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right, great. I'll be back to tell you what the president's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Hey, friends and neighbors, take a little time out now for just a word about Free Speech TV, how important it is, and how much we depend on your help. I hate to tell you this, but I've been around this radio and television business for a long time now, starting out with KABC TV in Los Angeles and KABC Talk Radio, moving on the radio front over to KFI Radio, and on TV over to KCOP Radio, and then bouncing back here to Washington, D.C., 6 years on CNN at Crossfire, and then a couple of years at MSNBC with Pat Buchanan on Buchanan and Press, and then Current TV, of course, covering and carrying our nationally syndicated radio show on a simulcast. But I got to tell you, with all of those different great organizations I've worked for, I have never felt that so totally free and so totally independent in terms of broadcasting the news of the day as I do here on Free Speech TV, because Free Speech TV, that's what it is. I mean, it's a progressive voice channel, 24/7, totally independent. As you know, no government funding and no corporate funding and no big donor pressure at all. Totally independent. And how do we do it? Well, that's thanks to you and to your support. We couldn't do without it. And that's why we turn to you once or twice a year to ask you to first of all, to thank you for being so generous, and then to ask you to help out again as much as you can. And there's some premiums that we can offer this time around, maybe to make it more attractive for you to dig in and help us out. If you can help us with just $10 a month, $120 a year, we'll send you a Bill Press mug and a pound of coffee. For $240, that mug, that coffee, and a French press. That's just $20 a month. For $30 a month, $360 a year, a mug, a coffee, the French press, and you'll participate in what we're calling Voices of the People. You and I will have a 5-minute phone conversation about whatever issue you want to talk about or issues you want to talk about, and we'll put all those together and we'll air them on our show as Voices of the People. You can be part of that. And if somehow you can make your way to Washington, D.C. and send $1,000 to Free Speech TV, make your way to Washington, Carol and I will take you out to dinner and bring you into the studio the next morning to watch the show. However, whatever level you can help out, please give us a call at 877-378-8669 or go to the website freespeech.org. Help as much as you can, and thank you for being so generous and allowing us to do a great job with you every day.
This is the Bill Press Show.
President Obama down in Tampa will be at MacDill Air Force Base most of today, or at least throughout the morning, where he'll be meeting with CENTCOM, the military leaders of CENTCOM, and they're the ones who will be running any operations that we conduct against ISIS in the Middle East, and the president getting that first-hand briefing today. And then he heads back to Washington this afternoon, arriving back in Washington actually at about 5 o'clock this evening. And tonight, on the South Lawn of the White House, an annual big event, the president will be welcoming members of Congress for a big party celebration on the South Lawn of the White House. Republicans and Democrats coming down to get a free hot dog and get their picture taken with the president. We'll be back. The Koch sisters coming up in the next hour.
This is the Bill Press Show.
West here reporting from Houston, Texas for Climate Desk. Now, one of the biggest uncertainties in climate science right now is the role of clouds. What better way to work that part out than flying right through them? That's what NASA scientists aboard this airplane think. Welcome to NASA's biggest airborne laboratory. You're coming with us today on an 8-hour NASA flight mission.
When you read these big IPCC climate assessments, what's the biggest uncertainty? There's two, right? The role of aerosols and clouds. Clouds is probably bigger than aerosols.
That is a piece of a puzzle that right now we are missing.
You can't get the models right if you don't understand the chemistry and the process.
Now we're being told we've got to get on. The doors are about to shut, so let's go aboard. Every time you turn on the weather, every time you hear a climate change prediction, that information has to come from somewhere. And it starts by getting sucked out of the air from planes like this.
So this mission is to try to understand the emissions from the surface, so mostly biogenic emissions, so from trees and other plants.
Right now we're flying to our very first part of this experiment on the DC-8. Over Arkansas, there's a particularly pungent bouquet of emissions that scientists are interested in measuring.
Well, these emissions lead to both aerosols and to molecules that both destroy and create ozone. So these are very important things to understand for climate studies.
How it will manifest itself, it will be in more accurate and more reliable predictions.
So what we're doing is taking a series of flyovers, each at a different level of the atmosphere, scooping up those emissions, testing them, and hopefully scientists are going to see exactly what's in this column of air all the way up.
The data that we collect in one flight can keep busy 60 scientists and students for 3 years, 4 years. We are still studying data from data collected 20 years ago.
In fact, this particular mission today is its most heavily equipped in its nearly 30 years of service. Each one of these consoles here is a specially equipped scientific instrument designed to collect all sorts of different data in real time.
And this instrument here tracks the sun.
We're looking at mist chambers. They're used to strip soluble gases.
This black line is the CO2. It's about 390 ppm right now.
We're putting these filters in the bags that we've got the aerosols that we trapped out of a certain amount of air. And so we're sampling up here about 150 liters a minute.
That ultimately flows back into the operational models. It flows back into what goes on TV every day.
Anyway, I got to get this sample going.
You do it. It's a busy man at work. We can't let him rest. Well, get this. We've just spent 2 hours crisscrossing this one cloud formation. In, back out again, back in again.
Then they grow, and we track them as long as we can, and then we let it go.
Even one cloud can hold a host of answers to the mysteries of climate change.
The patterns of, where the clouds are, what type of clouds we see, what kind of weather systems they're associated with it, that'll all be shifting in a shifting climate, in a world with climate change.
Then the big spark is this, is when we actually get the meat on the grill. And then it will be some time to process it.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
What the frack?
President Obama, are you fracking kidding me?
Reopen the EPA studies. In Texas, Wyoming, and Pennsylvania. Fracking pollutes our oceans. Fracking poisons our water.
Fracking makes climate change worse.
Fracking relies on toxic chemicals that cause cancer. Ban fracking now.
Ban fracking now.
Go on. Ban it.
Ban fracking now.
Please.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
The president says no ground troops in Iraq and Syria. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs says, well, maybe. What's going on? Hello, everybody. What do you say? It is Wednesday, September 17, the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill, booming out to you on your local progressive talk radio station, and, of course, on our worldwide video stream, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching or listening, and join me in saying hello to our team this morning, Peter Rockburn and Elisa Murphy, as always. Hello, guys.
Hey, good morning.
Glad to have you here. With Alicia Cruz on the phones and Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, keeping us looking good on the video stream. Yes, the question of ground troops and putting the coalition together and exactly what is the strategy to deal with ISIS is the biggest story of the day. And that makes a lot of work for our good friends at Defense One. Executive editor of Defense One, Kevin Barron, joining us in studio this morning. Hello, Kevin.
Hi.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the donuts.
It's not every day, you know. It's a very special day when we have donuts.
Well, I assume that, but I don't want to assume too much, so thank you.
And the donuts are from our friends at District Donuts. Brand new shop down on 8th Street here. They just opened last Friday.
So now I have to bring a box back to Defense One. So.
Well,
I'm coming
you know
for
what?
you, District Donuts.
You know what? You're going to have to stand in line to do so. They're great shop, great people. Their business plan is that whatever they make in the morning, however many donuts they make, when they sell out, they close.
That's it.
Yeah, and they're usually open till about like 11 in the morning because they're so popular.
Good.
So far. They've been just selling out. So you better get down there early. Great to see you all. And President Obama yesterday he declared war. Yep, indeed, we are at war against Ebola.
In West Africa, Ebola is now an epidemic of the likes that we have not seen before. It's spiraling out of control. It is getting worse. It's spreading faster and exponentially.
And so the president said, actually, talk about boots on the ground. He is sending 3,000 pair of boots on the ground, and the men who wear them, men and women, I should say, to Africa to help the nations down there deal with this epidemic. You might say, what are soldiers going to be doing with a medical epidemic and an emergency like that? He laid it out.
Our forces are going to bring their expertise in command and control, in logistics, in engineering. And our Department of Defense is better at that. Our armed services is better at that than any organization on earth.
It's an unusual mission, Kevin, isn't it, for the military?
Yes and no. I mean, these days, he's right. The armed forces is the best organization to do a lot of large logistical missions, that have nothing to do with pulling triggers and fighting combat.
Right.
Humanitarian disasters, humanitarian aid, humanitarian relief is something that they train for in every command around the world, and it's something that I think a lot of commanders think you're going to see a lot more of than anything else that the military does in the years to come.
Right, and I think a lot of us might prefer to see them in roles like that than in real combat roles. But it's very important that they undertake this mission. The United States again showing leadership in this area as we have in so many others when people anywhere in the world are in need of assistance. So Kevin here is with us for the first half hour, and then we'll be joined by the famous Koch, they become famous, Koch sisters, the organized labor's answer to the Koch brothers, and they'll be here in studio with us as well. We'll get right to the news of the day, but first, Peter with the important headlines.
This is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news out there. We say hello to James Peters. He is a composer and a former conductor of the Minnesota Philharmonic Orchestra. And he said he's had a really hard time on social media because he enjoys the finer things in life. And when he would post about them, he would get a little bit of a backlash. So he has started a new social media outlet. It's called Metropolitan, and it only costs you $9,000 to join and then $3,000 a year after that.
What?
It's like Facebook for rich a-holes.
Oh, my goodness.
Lots of luck with that.
He says that there are a lot of people who want to talk about, problems that they're having with a, $250,000 sports car, or problems with their, giant pools or mansions, and complain about things and talk about things without people making fun of them. And so now this sort of sets the bar higher, that you have to be rich to join this. It's called Metropolitan. If anybody's looking to join.
These are first world problems within first world problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The virtual country club.
I don't know what his business plan is, but you need a bigger constituency than Donald Trump.
Good luck.
It's like the Pentagon toilet seat, right? $9,000?
Right, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tweet that.
I don't know if you knew this, but Whole Foods apparently is struggling. They have seen sales go down, and so they've been in business for over 30 years, and now, according to Bloomberg, they are trying out a new rewards program. A lot of grocery stores do this. It's like a frequent shopper card or like an MVP card or something like that.
Oh, my God. We have a Safeway card, Carol.
Yeah, they've never done this at Whole Foods. They've been famously anti that. So they're testing it now in Princeton, New Jersey, and they're doing it all through an app on the Apple Store, on the App Store for Apple products. And they're saying that if it's successful, they're going to launch it nationwide by late 2015.
So depending on how much you buy at Whole Foods, you get points.
They're saying, what they're talking about doing, because again, it's just in the testing, is the more you spend, you can redeem it for other things like discounts or cooking classes and little excursions that they do.
You're big on cooking classes?
Yeah, I'm not so big on cooking.
No. I think that's a good idea. I mean,
it's a unique way to do it without...
Look, we all collect miles on airlines, right?
Sure. It just means I get another thing on my another key fob things.
Yeah.
I can't stand those things.
Another thing.
Sorry, Whole Foods.
And while we're talking food, a new study from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported yesterday that we are getting bigger, as in fatter. Our waistlines are increasing.
We
as Americans, I should point out.
It's not a good time to do this story after we just all finished a donut.
Anybody else want another donut? What we're talking about? The average man's waist grew from 38.9 inches to 39.7 inches. We're talking about 40-inch waistlines on men, and for women,
average.
Wait, the average started at 38.
Average. And women went from 36.3 to 37.8.
You make me feel good about myself.
Yeah, right?
No. We are not holding up the average here.
That's right.
Or maybe we're pulling down it. Whatever. That's stunning to me that 40 is the average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. When you buy your pants, it still says 34. They just keep changing it.
That's right.
But these are people who can't shop like it most men's clothing stores,
I
right?
mean,
They have to go to big. They have to go to Big and Tall.
Mr. Big and Tall.
Have you been to Walmart lately? Have you seen where most Americans shop? And the triple X, the double X. It's
I hate to pop your bubble here, but I don't buy my clothes
You don't
at
look like-
Walmart.
you don't look.
You can find out more about this when Bill posts on his Metropolitan account.
Why do you
where he
hate Real
buys his
America?
clothes.
It's Real America out there waiting
I
for you.
know
It's
it
a
is.
size 40.
All right, thank you, Peter. Yes, indeed. Well, it was confusing yesterday, Kevin, to many of us to hear General Dempsey, Martin Dempsey, head of the Joint Chiefs, after the president has said emphatically, no combat boots on the ground. Here is the way the general put it yesterday when asked that question in the Senate Armed Services Committee.
Folks on the ground are in a very much a combat advisory role. They are not participating in direct combat.
Right.
There is no intention for them to do so. I've mentioned, though, that if I found that circumstance evolving, that I would, of course, change my recommendation.
Change your recommendation and tell the president he's got to change his mind. So, yes or no? Boots on the ground, yes or no?
Well, I think you have to listen to exactly what he said. Right now, no boots on the ground other than the 1,000 American boots that are on the ground in Iraq. They mean no combat boots directly.
Yeah.
And should things change, he'll make the recommendation. I think there's a couple of things that went on here. The Republicans drew this out of General Dempsey, and he said what he said, and it's not as controversial as it may be led to believe, meaning that, of course, he's going to change his recommendation. That's what he does, and this is what these commanders say all the time. We give options, we give recommendations. It's up to the president.
Yeah. So, I mean, the White House says this is this does not represent a change of position. The Pentagon has contingencies for everything. That's all he was saying. The president ultimately makes the decision. But even before, and he also, General Dempsey said that some of the generals on the ground have already requested ground troops, and President Obama said no. I said no, and I mean no. Right.
Yeah, so commanders have initially asked for some special operations forces to be on the ground. The reason for those guys is that this is where training is done, right? The big mantra for the military now is we're going to train every military around the world so we don't have to do it for them. And it's the special operations forces that does that. So they're the ones that go in first. And they're also the ones that can be on the ground and embedded with the Iraqis, with the Peshmerga, to call in more targeted airstrikes, to have much more effective, I guess, airstrikes in that way.
So special forces, if they come under the brand of special forces, they're sort of an exception to the rule, then, right? I mean, they can wear combat boots.
Well, so they'll be sent in as advisors or advise and assist troop. This is something that came out of the Iraq War, right? When they changed the entire mission of the war and they said none of us are combat troops anymore. This is all an advise and assist mission, just like that. Same troops, same brigade combat teams, and it didn't change the people. It's what they're asked to do. So these advise and assist guys and women, that they would be. They start out in headquarters, but right now the question is, will they be allowed to go out on patrol? Will they be allowed to go with the Iraqi fighters, Peshmerga? And if that's true, then that does put them in the direct line of combat. It puts them out front, face to face, and it's harder to use that same rhetorical shield.
All right. Now, the question that I've been asking for the last couple of weeks about this the president's strategy is a good part of it. We're not going to fight their war for them. We'll do the airstrikes, and they have to fight their own war. We're talking about retraining and rearming the Iraqi military, retraining, rearming the moderate Syrian opposition, and hopefully we get some forces from some of these other Arab countries that are going to be part of that coalition as well. But how real is that? I mean, we saw the Iraqi military collapse. The Syrian moderate opposition. I mean, the reason we have ISIS because moderate opposition wasn't that hot, in their first military move. So how can we really? What's going to be different this time around?
Well, you can go even earlier. With the reason we have ISIS was it came out of before the Iraq War ended. This is something that emerged from Iraq before that war ended and the Americans left. Then Syria started and it went that way, and now they're coming back. If you look at
they were just called something different, I guess.
Right,
then, right?
It came out of Al Qaeda in Iraq. So a couple of things. The U.S. military commanders think that the reason the Iraqis basically rolled over and left and ISIS was allowed to come in, it wasn't because they didn't have the skill to fight. It was because they didn't want to fight for the people that they had to fight for. Their commanders had been let go and sent packing by Maliki long ago. So they didn't have allegiance to their own commanders. They didn't have allegiance to the government as well. So the hope is, well, new government, great. And a new government could lead to possibly some of those commanders coming back, a whole new Iraqi military.
Okay.
But that's months away, weeks away from. So I question what Americans are going to see differently when they look on TV and they see images coming out of Iraq. Right now, the images are what? It's pickup trucks with fighters off the back of them. It's the beheadings of Americans, and it's grainy videos of American drone strikes from the sky. What changes after this speech the president gave? After whatever happens this week in Congress, whatever's voted on for authorities? I think the American people need to dial down their expectations and listen to what a lot of the commanders, what Dempsey said, what Hagel said, what the president said. This is going to be a long process.
I'm glad you went there, because the other clip from General Dempsey I wanted to play for our conversation is, and this didn't get a lot of attention yesterday, but caught my attention, when he was talking about, okay, how long before these guys are going to be up and operational? Here again, General Dempsey at the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing yesterday.
3 to 5 months, and then deliver a capability sometime between 8 and 12 months. So that's kind of the time frame that we're working toward.
So 3 to 5 months before they're up and running, 8 to 12 months before they have the capability to actually execute missions.
Yeah, that's next Labor Day.
Exactly.
Before this could happen. I mean, a lot of people are going to die in Iraq before this gets better. That's what that means. And look, go back to your last point.
And that's just when they get started.
Well,
Labor Day 2015.
If the Iraqi government can congeal and solidify and get some sort of stability going again anywhere outside of Baghdad, if the Iraqi security forces can regroup and with some courage and help with their old American friends, drive the fight back. If something changes across the border in Syria, it's a lot of ifs. I mean, this is what I wrote last week. What's the plan B? What's plan B? If all of these things don't happen, there's like 12 things that have to happen for this to go right, for the president's strategy to occur. And not to knock the strategy, this is what it would take. I credit the military and the president for actually laying out for the people. They didn't come out and say, "Hey, shock and awe, we can do this. No Americans, no problem." They said, "No. This is the realism. This is the expectation." And once again, he's taking it to Congress, just like last year when we were talking about, are we going to send cruise missiles into Syria? And they took it to Congress, and everybody kind of went, maybe we shouldn't do that. And they waited. You can argue if Obama could have done it himself anyway, but here we are again, the president saying, this is the reality of what military intervention looks like. This is what the reality of warfare looks like. If we're going to do this, if this is a threat, whether it's a direct threat or an indirect threat, I don't care about that argument anymore. If it's a threat or not, this is what it takes. It's going to take 12 months to get these guys up and running. And in those 12 months, we're going to spend $1 billion probably. At least, I would easily say we'll cross $1 billion. And it's just going to escalate with more fighting, more troops. And along the whole way, what's our backup plan is to get the Arab states, these regimes that the Arab publics have hated for decades, that have led lots of Arab men to head towards terrorism. Those guys, that's who we're relying on now. We're going to prop them up, asking for their military help. And we're going to give them all the ammunition and everything we need to do it. Because that's our only choice right now, to stop this horrible group of ISIL from beheading Americans, from mowing down Iraqis and civilians by the thousands.
And the idea that all those pieces are going to fall into place, tick, 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 and it's all going to work, man, I got to tell you. A lot of questions. 866-55-PRESS. You might have a question there. Give us a call. Kevin Barron here with us from Defense One. It's defense1.com. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork, loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 27 minutes after the hour, the Koch sisters coming up in the next half hour. So Kevin Barron with us from Defense One. Kevin, just about 30 seconds here. Is it possible to degrade and destroy ISIS, or are we end up, at best, containing them?
Well, I think what Plan B is starting to look like is some sort of containment, and within that, sure, you can degrade the hell out of them. I think, you know, just like we have in other areas. The question is, what happens next, and where do they go? It was just before this. I was at the Aspen Security Forum, and Matt Olson, the counterterrorism czar, said it's Syria. Inside Syria right now is the most important place to look at. That's where Al Qaeda has put the word out for fighters to go. That's where all the training, recruiting, and planning for attacks on the West are occurring.
In Syria.
That's the new area. So we're not even talking about Pakistan anymore.
No.
So it's just, are we going to knock this down or just keep playing whack-a-mole?
All right, you got it. Hey, Kevin, thanks so much for coming in.
Great to have you. Thanks for the donuts.
Thank you. Again.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go. 33 minutes after the hour now. It's a Wednesday, September 17. So good to see you today. We are The Bill Press Show, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio on Capitol Hill, brought to you today by the American Federation of Teachers, the good men and women of the AFT under President Randy Weingarten, making a difference in America's classrooms every day, you bet. And we salute the great teachers of America and thank them for their support. And we are so excited. You know me, I talk a lot about the Koch brothers. I hate them. Not personally, but I hate what they do and what they stand for. I even wrote a book about the Koch brothers called The Obama Hate Machine. And I've been looking for a counter to the Koch brothers, an answer to the Koch brothers. We've got them, and they are join us in studio this morning. They are the Koch sisters, Joyce and Karen. Hello, hello. Welcome.
Good morning.
Seeing you all on television all across the land. I mean, we have our monitors up here. You guys have been everywhere. You made a big splash, and exciting.
Fantastic ride.
Yeah, exciting to have you here. Joyce, you're from Michigan.
I'm
from
Michigan.
Karen from Michigan. Joyce from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Right. And you're out there. What's basically the message?
The message is that there is another way other than the Koch brothers' way. And we think that that's the way that's leading you astray. So think our way, not their way.
I like that. Yeah. And their way is all big corporate money, right? Trying to buy elections, buy members of Congress, to do some of the worst things, to be able to pollute and get rid of all environmental regulation, to get rid of minimum wage, to get rid of labor unions. I mean, anything to help working families, right?
They like to exclude all the rest of us. They exclude this. They exclude, Social Security, Medicare, you name it, they exclude. I like to think that Karen and I and all of the rest of the Koch sisters, and Bill, I hope you're a Koch sister.
Damn right I am.
Okay. We like to we like to include.
Oh, I like that.
We're inclusive.
So Karen, that's
pretty much the same thing. I'm tired of the Koch brothers buying government decisions, policy decisions that shrink our middle class. And I think these policy decisions, when they shrink the middle class, it causes problems for all of us.
I mean, they can't relate to the middle class at all. So anyhow, the AFL CIO has put out great friends over there, Rich Trumpka and all the rest.
I met him yesterday, just delightful.
Isn't he great? Yeah, he's a great leader. They put out an ad with the two of you that's been all over national television. And here's what it sounds like for our viewers.
Hi, I'm Karen.
And I'm Joyce.
And we are
the Koch sisters.
We're not biological sisters, but sisters in spirit.
And we're not related to the Koch brothers, those right-wing billionaires.
We're just two average women who've raised families and worked hard all our lives.
We don't have billions to spend on political campaigns.
But we do have our convictions and our voices. We think that's important.
If you agree, then join us. We can all be a nation of Koch sisters.
That's it. I love it. You want people to join in,
right? Absolutely.
Koch sisters fight back.
Right.
Yeah. Karen, you are a teacher, right?
I am. I teach at a community college in Flint.
So what's the union meant for you in terms?
It actually has meant almost double wages, because sometimes I also work at a non-union shop and I get almost twice as much money when I work union as non-union.
You see, people don't understand that. I mean, that so much of what we have today in terms of salary, in terms of benefits, health benefits, retirement benefits, vacation time, the 40-hour work week, overtime, all of that, it just didn't happen, right? I mean,
it didn't happen overnight.
No, and employers didn't say, "Oh, we want to be nice to you, and we're going to give you all this stuff." Right? People had to fight for this stuff. The unions fought for this stuff, and they won it for all of us. You've had the same experience. Your husband was a member of AFT,
right? And he was in the union, and he helped fight, and he was a union rep. And he kind of set my thinking straight, because there was a year where I had some surgery before I was on Medicare. And I had some surgery, and it was expensive. And we got the bills, and we didn't really have to pay much because we had insurance coverage, good insurance coverage. And I said, "Oh, God bless the school system." And he said, "That wasn't the school system. Are you kidding me?" He said, "The union helped get those benefits. If it wasn't for the union." So God bless the union.
Yeah, no,
very much. My grandfather was part of the sit-down strikes with UAW, and it made a big difference. He had colitis, and he was quite sick, and the union paid. And so the union made sure that those people had benefits.
One of the things that, as a proud union member for over 30 years, that I'm so excited about today are the fast food worker strikes that we have seen, and there was another big one last week. And their demand, that these are people, if they're lucky, they're making the minimum wage, and their demand is not $7.25, but $15 an hour, and the right to form a union. I love the fact they couple the two, because it's get the pay raise, but also form a union so then they can continue to bargain for better rights and better working conditions and maybe another raise at some point.
Absolutely.
Better safety conditions. We wouldn't have nearly as safe a working environment if it wasn't for the unions.
Yeah. So how can people become Koch sisters, and what does it mean?
KochSisters.org.
Oh, is that it?
Yep.
KochSisters.org. And what's it mean to be a Koch sister? What do you have to do to be?
You got to care about the middle class.
Care about your fellow citizens.
Yeah. What does it cost?
Not be selfish.
Zero.
Doesn't cost anything. You just sign up, right?
Sign up. You can get a free T-shirt.
Oh,
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. All right.
So
Yeah.
sometimes we even wear T-shirts.
I'm a Koch sister too. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And you can go on to Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And some people, if they don't have their own computer, go to your local library, borrow a friend's computer. But
They can post their pictures on Instagram as well, and they can be a Koch sister too.
So you
with
have
their shirts.
so you basically getting a whole kind of national movement of Koch sisters, right?
Yes.
And get
Absolutely.
all their pictures up. That's
yes,
great.
yes. And now we like to tell the men for sure, you can be a Koch sister. Okay? It's not just the females. Men too.
I'm a feminist.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right? And I can be a feminist as man, and I can be a
Yes.
member of the National Organization for Women.
Yes.
Right? I could be a nun on the bus.
Oh, Bill, I think you're I think you're my new best friend. Are you kidding me?
Now, the nuns on they're another great group. The nuns on the bus start today in Des Moines, Iowa. This is the first stop in their next Nuns on the Bus trip.
Oh, great.
They start today in Des Moines, and Vice President Joe Biden is going to be there with them to kick off this latest tour.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, isn't that great?
That'd be a good place to meet today, except for here. This is the best place.
Thank you. Are you going to be active in any of the political campaigns this fall?
I volunteer twice a week for a gubernatorial candidate in Michigan and also a senatorial campaign. And so I knock doors. It takes about 2 hours to knock 50 doors. Sometimes I do phone banking.
Let me tell you, Michigan, we got to get rid of that governor.
Oh, my gosh, don't we?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
they're lucky to have Karen, aren't they?
Absolutely.
We're trying,
No, I'm so impressed that you're doing that. That's so important. And the Senate seat, too, Carl Levin, because Carl Levin's stepping down, right?
Yes.
Who's been a great senator. And how about you, Joyce?
Well,
you got a governor we'd like to get rid of, too. Talk about caring for the middle class. Or not caring for the middle
I just
class.
moved there, and I've been the sleeping beauty of politics. How do you like that?
Well, then you get the
Somebody's going to come and kiss me.
You get the kiss from the prince and to wake you up.
Yes, yes. The AFL came and gave me a kiss, and they're waking me up.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm, but everything fit in with my values, and so I guess I've got to go around and kiss a lot of frogs and get them to vote. How's that?
Get them to vote. Yeah.
How's that for a lot of mixed allegories or metaphors?
I followed it. I had no problem with it at all. No, but talk about, a lot of this, what happened in Michigan with the right to work, Chris Christie taking on the teachers, Chris Christie taking on the public employees, and we've seen it in Ohio with John Kasich and in Florida with Rick Scott. They're just, it's a big movement, particularly on the part of the Republican governors, to destroy the unions.
Well, there's a lot of bright, educated, and all kinds of good people in New Jersey. I think they're going to wake up.
Oh, yeah, I do
hope
too.
they will.
But what's great is, that what you're doing is going to wake a lot of people up, because it's really different. It's great, It's Koch sisters. People stop and say, "Wait, I thought they were the Koch brothers. Who are these guys?" And then they listen to what you have to say, and they can join up and become part of the movement. Fabulous.
But we've also got to alert people that don't totally realize who and what the Koch brothers are and what they do. Because some people kind of scratch their heads and say, "Oh, wait a second, I've kind of heard that name, but I'm not sure." So they aren't quite sure, that they're behind all of these not so great schemes.
They are behind. Here's my belief, and we'll take a quick break and come back and talk with Karen and Joyce, the Koch sisters. My belief is that they're behind everything evil in this country. It's the Bill Press Show with the Koch sisters. If you've got a question or a comment, you want to become a Koch sister, now's the time to call Karen or Joyce. We'll be right back at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
What gets you into college? Good SAT scores? High GPA? Lots of extracurriculars?
Sure, but what you really need is money.
If you don't have the cash, you'll need a loan.
And we mean huge student loans because the cost of college has risen 1,000% in the last 30 years.
This means big money for the banks that collect fees and interest.
Now, millions of young people are starting their adult lives with an average of $29,000 of loans on their backs.
Altogether, we're talking $1.2 trillion in student debt.
And more people are finding it impossible to pay them back. Welcome to the student debt crisis.
The increasing demand for higher education and cuts to state funding gave colleges a huge incentive to keep inflating prices.
I graduated about a year ago, currently in $35,000 of debt.
I am in debt about like $25,000.
I owe $23,000.
I owe over $50,000 in student loans.
38.8 million Americans owe money on a student loan.
And the biggest names in banking are making huge profits off the booming student loan industry. Sallie Mae, the largest provider of private student loans, made $949 million last year.
They only give you about 6 months to look for a job. You have to start paying back the loan. It's very pressuring, especially nowadays. It's very hard to find a job.
Over half of the students graduating in 2012 could not find a decent paying job.
They either had low-wage jobs or unpaid internships or were unemployed altogether.
So you can't make the payments. You start incurring late fees, which makes the loan even harder to pay off.
And it stays with you for years, even decades.
Right now, a third of the people who started repaying their loans are delinquent or in default.
That's 13.7 million people, more than the populations of Chicago, New York, and San Francisco combined.
Worse, it's not just the borrowers who are in trouble. Many loans require co-signers.
So if the student is unable to pay, that co-signer, a father, a mother, or a grandparent, is now on the hook.
Even a grandparent's Social Security benefits can be garnished to pay the loan.
We should have an answer to this. If you get really behind in your car payment or your credit cards, you can file for bankruptcy.
But Congress has made it nearly impossible to discharge student loans through bankruptcy.
Big institutions make big profits while students try to make ends meet under crushing debt.
Is this how we want our education system to work?
The whole point of going to college is to get the career you want, but lately that's been discouraged because no one can afford school. You get a job just to pay off your student loans.
We need higher education, not higher debt.
Sign up to end the student debt crisis at higherednotdebt.org.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes now before the top of the hour. We're here with the Koch sisters. Yep, you heard that right. The Koch sisters, not the Koch brothers. Not Charles and David, but Joyce and Karen. Hi, girls. Welcome back. Great to have you here. And I've got the website up. Cyprian, if we can see that on my computer here. The Koch sisters, so not related to those guys. Yeah, you see Charles and David, and then Karen and Joyce. This is a great website, I've got to say. The sisters, the brothers, the difference, our media, the project, take action. There's just lots of stuff you can do here. The sisters, the brothers, the differences and everything. I mean, you know, the big difference is you guys are doing good work and you're standing up for good people, the middle class, and the Koch brothers are doing nothing but evil, and they're standing up for the maybe 1/10% of the people that they represent, and they're the only ones they care about.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
Very much.
Now, we played one ad, the first ad, I think, where we met you all. There's a new ad just launched today that just starts today on national cable television. So you heard it here first on the Bill Press Show. Karen and Joyce, here it is.
If we decided that, you know, the Koch brothers have a whole lot more money than us, so maybe we should make a Koch brothers lane in the expressway. That really wouldn't be a fair situation.
I think the Koch sisters are for everyone having a piece of the American pie.
It's we the people. It's not we the billionaires. I'm positive it said we the people. Didn't it say
I heard that someplace.
Yeah, I think I did too.
You guys are great. No, that's the difference. You know, you're fighting for the people. They're fighting for that little top
And when
slice.
we talk about fighting for the middle class, we're also talking very much for the working poor. So many of the students that I teach really are getting very, very, very low wages, seldom more than 20 hours a week. They are really struggling, don't have enough money even for bus fare, much less have a car or have money to put gas in a car. Transportation is an issue. Food, not so much in the sense that they can get food banks and food stamps, but getting back and forth to school or getting back and forth to work is a huge issue.
And so it's, but by the way, you can remember, you can sign up at Koch Sisters, KochSisters.org, and become a Koch sister like all of us, right?
And there is Facebook page, and I was talking to somebody recently, and they said, but I don't have a Facebook account. You can still go to Facebook and look at the page and see, I don't know, a large percent of it, even if you don't have a Facebook account.
Good point. Let's say hello to Laurie. Laurie's calling from Chicago, and our great affiliate out there, WCPT. Hi, Laurie.
Good morning.
Hi. Can you? What's your point or question?
I believe this is a totally necessary movement, and I'm wondering how you plan to enlist the help in getting, number one, more education on why this is necessary. Obviously, on your website, it should. I haven't been there yet. I will be visiting today.
Mm-hmm.
And I would join and say, how can I help in getting the education out there that's necessary so that people understand why this movement is so important at the time that we are at right now?
Yeah. All right, good, Laurie. Thank you. That's an excellent question.
It's really
what do you say?
It's a grassroots movement, and so even though Joyce and I are just two Koch sisters, we also take the time to go ahead and make sure we know League of Women's Voters, or we know where other information is, because I'm going to know a lot more about the Michigan market. And so if I share with my other Koch sisters places that I can give them information about policy decisions that Michigan has made, I can make a difference in Michigan. Sure, maybe two of us can make a difference nationally, but if we all, literally we have over 1,000 Koch sisters already, so if we help educate the individual Koch sisters, and then those Koch sisters go ahead and tell 3 of their friends, you know, we also have a Get Out to Vote program, and so we want to make sure people vote and know what they're voting for.
Yeah, Joyce, you were saying that this is a real movement, right? You want people to join up.
Right, and I don't think I ever totally understood the word viral before. You know, I heard it, but what does that mean? And then I realized I sent out information to all my friends and relatives, and at first I was shy because I didn't want them to think I was bragging, but I really thought, this is interesting. And then you realize it's not only interesting, it's important. And then they, in turn, send it to their friends and relatives, and then they send it to theirs.
Yep.
So it's just, that's what viral is. That's how
Absolutely.
the bad things spread, but this is how the good things can spread.
Yeah.
So our caller can tell all her friends and relatives to look at this website, and then they, you know, this Facebook page, and they can tell their friends and relatives, and pretty soon most of the country's going to know.
That's how the movement gets started, and you guys are doing it. I'm so glad to meet you, and thank you so much for coming in. And I know we'll be seeing a lot of you, the Koch sisters, kochsisters.org. I'm a proud Koch sister, and you've got to become one too. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, and I'll be right back with a parting shot.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm glad I don't live in Scotland, because I'd have a tough decision to make tomorrow when the Scots decide whether or not they're going to decide to remain part of England or break off on their own. You know, on the one hand, independence makes a lot of sense. We broke away from England. Why shouldn't Scotland? On the other hand, Scotland's not America. It's not 3,000 miles away across the ocean. It's part of England with the same currency, the same banks, government, and language. And where do you stop with this independence thing? I mean, if you're for Scotland today, are you for Quebec tomorrow? Or could it be maybe New Mexico or Florida tomorrow? So I guess in the end, I would vote no. England's our strongest ally. Let's leave it all together. Hey, folks, that's it.
This
Have a good day. We'll look for you again tomorrow morning.